Got like these weird earplug things. So
Hey, Mark, if you can hear me, can you try to log out and log back in, see if maybe that works?
weird earplug things.
Sorry, go ahead.
Can you try to, I'm trying to promote you to panelist, but it's not working. Can you maybe try to log out and log back in, see if that works? Oh, there we go. It worked. It took a while.
Yeah, I had trouble getting on like I normally do with electronics. Had to call my wife and get a password. And, oh my God.
When I started the job, I ended up buying this password book and put in everything in it because there's so many passwords for everything that I can't keep up with them. So they're in one place.
The biggest thing is to remember to change the password in the password book when you change the password.
Yeah, that's the hard part. And all of these different systems we use, you know, they make you change passwords every 2 months.
Yeah.
You know, the way things are going, it's going to be interesting if we don't have a discussion soon about possibly starting to meet in person.
Yeah. I
don't
saw
know if, yeah.
I saw Portland meeting in
What was
person.
that?
Portland is
Yeah, I don't
meeting
know
in
when
person.
or if that,
Oh.
I don't know when or if that's going to be appropriate, but as you know, that's my preference.
Cumberland
Yeah.
is meeting in person, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Jay.
Jay's just gonna peek up over his screen at us this morning.
You're on mute, Jay.
Thank you. Thank you. So Mark, today we're just basically talking about the operating budget, no capital.
That's right. And from what I can tell, we may have a request to take the fire rescue department first because with the amount of increase proposed, this may turn into more than we can handle today. We'll decide that as a group.
Yeah, if we can start with that one first, that would be great. We have Steve that's here now that is in attendance on the behalf of the fire department. So I have a note from Ralph that I can read that I meant to email you guys that I forgot to do. And if that doesn't answer any questions, if I can't answer it, then hopefully Steve is able to contribute to that discussion.
Okay. Once we start and we have everyone in attendance, we will start with the fire rescue, and then we will decide how far we want to go with that today or not, and whether we need more of an opportunity possibly as part of our Wednesday meeting. Okay?
Okay.
Just to let you know right now, my internet's on the fritz.
Again?
Exactly. My internet's on the fritz. So
You know what, we got one of those satellite, oh, what are they called?
Starlink?
Yes, yep. We haven't hooked it up yet, but we signed up for it, oh, probably about 6 or 8 months ago. And we were on a wait list. We put our deposit down, we were on a wait list for it, and then it finally arrived, so hopefully. it'll be a little bit.
Yeah, the homeowner that I'm working for has one at his house on Cottage Road, and interestingly enough, it points almost straight up at a due north direction, and it's partially heated. In one of the storms, it was icy and stormy. The signal went out for about a part of a day or a day, I guess, and then it finally melted off, and it was fine after that. It has been in and out a couple of times, but seems to be a fairly strong signal. It's like $100 a month or 105 a month, because
It's, yeah, it was $500 to buy the equipment. And then
Yeah.
it's $99 a month.
Mhm.
All right, so Jen just texted me and she's getting ready to log in. And then hopefully we'll get Donna soon.
And Vicky, you will be able to see if there are any public attendees.
Yes, I can see them. So right now I have Donna I'm promoting and Jen. And then the only other in attendance we have is Steve.
Okay.
All right. So there we go. All right, so they just got promoted and they should be joining us. There we go. It seems like there's a little delay on the internet this morning.
Well, I see Bo still in the cellar.
Yeah, he's down there with all his friends.
We have 2 people in attendance.
I don't know if people know, but if you hit on participants, you can look and see who else is in the audience. Did you guys know that?
If you're a panelist, yeah, you should be able to see under attendees.
And just click on attendees.
I don't see where it says that.
At the bottom of your screen, right beside the chat, it says participants. If you click on that, it will give you a whole list. And then up on the right-hand side at panelists, it will show all of our names. And then attendees, if you click on that, it says attendees too. You can see who's in the audience.
I'll just have to take your word for it.
I don't think
Okay, it's all right.
if you're just a member of the public, I don't think you can see it. I think you have to be a panelist to see it.
No, I was talking about Mark.
Yeah, Mark is a panelist.
I'm not bright enough to see it, so let's just get the
Okay.
meeting.
Get started.
You want to introduce the meeting, Donna, and then I'll take over?
Yes. All right, today we're having a workshop. It's the 11th of, no, to the 12th of February, 9 a.m. We're on Zoom. I'm going to just go through and make sure we can hear everyone. As Vika said, I think that we're getting a little bit of a delay, but then it seems better right now. Vika, can we hear you?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Bo? Bo? Okay, we can't hear Bo. Jay?
Yes,
Okay, Bo, can you
goes
hear?
on mute.
Oh, Bo, are you on mute? No?
My internet's so unstable, I can't. I don't know what's going on.
If you have questions, raise your
Keeps
hand. and
kicking me
put it-
out.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, but your picture is frozen.
Maybe if you take
So
your,
I'll
if you
stop
shut your
the
camera off.
video.
Yeah, stop the video and see if that helps.
So if he stops his video, how are we gonna know if he has questions when he's not talking?
He's still a panelist, so if he keeps his volume on, he can just speak up. Or if he wants to raise his hand or something, but
Okay,
Yeah, I'll raise my hand if I have a question.
That's
I'll keep an
better.
eye on it.
sorry, Donna, were you done? No.
Yeah, I just wanted to do that roll call, and I'm going to turn it over to Mark, who's the chairman of the budget committee.
Thank you, Donna. So, welcome, everyone. As you know, this is a budget workshop only, which means there will be no formal votes, but there may be informal consensus votes for each department. Our goal today is to go through all the town departments, give any and all members of the board opportunity to ask questions, make recommendations of lowering or upping any expense or line items, and also take comments if requested from the public. So I think Vika and I have spoken this morning. I think there has been a request from the fire rescue to start with the fire rescue department, which in your budget report is page 8, Department 2200, Fire Rescue Services. Last year was budgeted at a total of $117,135. 2023 initial proposal is $190,237. So as you can see, that's up $73,000 so far for proposed. So it's not a small request of an increase, and I would open it up to Vika, who may suggest that we hear from, I understand, Steve Alfont. Go ahead, Vika.
Good morning. So what I have is I have a brief explanation from the fire chief, Ralph, that I can read to you. And then I can give you some detail based on my conversation with him. And then we could turn it to Steve if he has any additional comments to add. So the note that I received from Ralph, what it says is that the proposed budget reflects a need for more per diems due to fewer EMTs and EMT burnout. The price increase per hour is a reflection of what other departments are paying and also bringing the volunteers up to what the per diem will be paid. It is not only the right thing to do, as the volunteers are still doing the majority of the coverage, but it will hopefully minimize any animosity between the two groups, which I have witnessed in other departments. The chief's pay, while it does not reflect in any way the duties performed, does not come anywhere near the chief's pay in departments of equal size. Prior to 2007, we had an EMS captain and a deputy fire chief. The current fire rescue chief has the responsibilities of both of those positions and that of both work of their bosses. The fire rescue chief currently gets paid less than the EMT captain back in 2006. And so the proposed budget, what they are requesting is to have per diem shifts that can cover and be working 3 days a week, 12 hours a day. So the time frame would be a little bit more in the summer and busier months, and then during the winter time, it would be a little bit less. In addition to that, the fire chief is requesting a $5,000 increase in his salary. Like he had mentioned, what he wants to do is because the hourly per diem is going to be paid at $25 an hour. He would like to bump up all of our volunteers from $15 an hour to $25 an hour. So then when they run any kind of calls or go out on a call, they get $25 an hour for that. So that way it evens them out. And so that's where you're going to see that $68,000 increase in the wages line itself. So.
Okay, thank you, Vika. Before Steve Font, is Steve Font going to request to speak, Vika?
He hasn't requested yet, but, if you want to allow him, I mean, he can say a few things. I think that, he was here, you know, as a presence in case if there are any additional questions that could be asked that aren't being answered based on the information that I have represented the fire department.
Okay, I guess what I'm doing right now is I would like the opinion of the consensus of the board, the select board, of whether we are going to continue with this department and this discussion today and try to come to some sort of consensus of a direction for budget number, or are we going to need more written information and time to digest all of this before we decide to move at least the first draft of this fire rescue budget on for our final considerations of a budget for the people to vote on? What's the feeling of the board? Go ahead, Donna.
Yeah, my feeling is, I feel like I have a bunch of questions and that I probably am not going to be ready to make, you know, a final decision, but I'd like to have an opportunity to ask my questions so we could get some answers that would help me understand the specifics. I mean, I got the overview from what Vika said, but, for example, do we have some math that shows how many people we're talking about per week and that kind of thing? Do we have like that budget detail, or is it just a lump sum? That's one question I have. And because it would be great to have that, the detail of how many volunteers, what's the estimated number of times they're going to do it. And, you know, I think we're at the point where we're really talking about part-time employees. And I don't know, I know fire and rescue is really different, but, you know, I mean, we've got people who are really, you know, putting their heart and soul in this, and they're not just out there volunteering. That's information that I would need. Another thing that just a comment that based on the fact that, you know, whatever the rate was in 2007, this came up about 5 or 6 years ago, maybe more, maybe 7 years ago. And at that time, it was decided that the chief's job was too much. And rather than getting an increase, Ralph advocated to get an assistant. And so at that time, we developed a position for an assistant for 15 hours a week to help with the chief with this position. I have no idea, excuse me, whether it's still 15 hours a week, whether there's 15 hours a week in this budget already from last year, and whether or not it really is, we're spending 15 hours a week. I guess I'm wondering, is that really a 15-hour a week job? And how much is that person getting paid? Because that we don't have that information. So I guess that's just a few of my questions. And one of the things that I've thought about, that we did with all of the other positions in town, we had Justin do a really serious survey of all the different communities of different sizes. And I think that just to be fair to all of the rescue and fire people, that we should do that and have it in a document so that we can see maybe this is low. We don't know. We don't know whether it's low. We don't know whether it's high. And one of the things that I've thought about, we have in our payroll budget for other employees, COLA, and maybe that's a way to start, at least if we can't get all this information before we have to finalize the budget.
Thoughts from other board members, please? How do you want to proceed today? Do you want to proceed with this department as normal? Do you want to try to come to some sort of a consensus, or do we need more time dedicated just to this department at a later meeting? Go ahead, Jim.
I think that we need more time. I think there's a lot of unanswered questions and And I think we just need more time.
Jay and Bo, go ahead, Jay.
Uh, I agree, we definitely need more time. I think there's a philosophical issue here as well, is are we in fact giving up volunteers and turning towards a paid service? Which some communities do because they can't get the volunteers. There are a lot of questions along those lines. I'm curious if anybody knows there's a program in other states called LoSAP, which stands for basically, it's longevity of service, something or other. And what it does is, based on the amount of time you spend as a volunteer on a year-by-year basis, the town puts aside a certain amount of money in what's essentially an IRA type of account. And that's how they reward their volunteers. No direct payments, but they build up, and if you answer more calls than everybody else, you get more money going into the program than anybody else. And that has worked out very well and nicely in a lot of places.
That's really creative, Jay. Thank you.
Bo, do you have any thoughts on this before I speak?
I guess the consensus as it is right now is to wait till a further date. As far as for me, I do need a little more information also, but I mean, we're at the point where we need to hire people or we're not going to have coverage. So I'm going by what Ralph's proposed.
Yeah, and I agree. I think we should give this some more careful consideration and thought. I've been thinking the same way Jay has been thinking. I think we may or may not be at that point as a community where the volunteer department is a cautious word to use with fire and rescue. We may have to pay a little bit more than we used to continue the level of service that the community requires, expects, and needs. So I guess I'm going to suggest to Donna and Vika and the board that we carve out some time at Wednesday's meeting. What do you think of that, Donna? Doesn't it look like a light agenda to you?
Yeah, there's not a lot on it, and we already have talking about the second draft of the budget. So we can just do it wrap it into that if everybody agrees. And we may still have questions that Vika's not able to, or Steve can't answer. And so I think if people have questions, excuse me, between now and then, they should send those to Vika. So we have as much information as possible, but it's a very important department, and we want to make sure that we do it right and that we really understand what we are, what we're doing.
And I agree with that. So is the board in agreement that Wednesday, as part of our business meeting, we'll have a partial workshop for part of that meeting on Wednesday night? Does that sound okay?
Yeah, I think that's
ahead,
fine.
Jay.
Would anybody else like to hear if Steve O'Font has any thoughts to contribute at this point? Just that might give us a little clarity.
It's fine with me. Vika, what do you think?
I mean, he is away this weekend and he made the effort to come here and be present. So I think that, the respectful thing to do is hear if there's any input that he has. Let me allow him in to talk.
Yeah, he didn't put his hand up. That was my only thing.
Just to
Hey,
interrupt
Steve.
real quick, the LoSAP thing is the length of service award programs, and it's for
Right.
fire and EMS personnel in the state of Maine. I think that's something we definitely should look into.
Yeah, I agree.
So the state does have such a program, Jen? Oh, that's a
Jen, will you
no-brainer.
forward me that information?
Yep, I'll do it right now.
Thank you.
And again, Jay, thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Steve, if you can hear me, you are able to talk if you'd like to say something.
Good morning, everyone.
Nice
Morning,
day.
Steve.
Have a nice vacation.
Yes, having a good time. First off, I just apologize. Ralph's not here. The fire department's actually in a national toboggan race up in Camden today. So the department built a toboggan and they're participating, and we have a team racing in the toboggan races today. So that's exciting for the department. I was involved with Ralph. I had a meeting, the initial meeting with Justin and Ralph for preparation of the budget for this year. I think that everything that you folks discussed this morning is a prudent manner to have a initial workshop meeting with us, or Ralph. I've also had some discussions with Doug Ross, our other lieutenant on the department. I think this is definitely worth a workshop discussion. A lot of these topics are complicated, I guess, and it is a large increase. But I think that they're complicated as far as the different, the EMS side, the fire department side. So I think it's just, as we get into it, we're going to find that we're going to have more questions on how to handle it. And so it would be good to talk about it. And some of the things like, even like what Jay said, maybe some new ideas to try to solve this unique problem. Or it's not, I guess it's probably not a unique problem, but a problem for a small town, and trying to maintain our proper level of service, what we all expect for safety and service. So I would definitely agree to try to participate in another meeting, and then have Ralph available and more details for you folks.
Steve, could I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
Are you currently the individual assigned to the 15+ hours a week for administrative support?
Yep. Yes, I am. And when I turn that, my payroll slips in every other week. I'm averaging about 10 hours, I would say. I didn't run the average, but when I turn in my my ticket for the 2 weeks, it's usually about 10 hours, 11 hours a week for the 2 week period. Some weeks it's like 5 hours or 4 hours a week. There's a lot of most people, when you guys tour the fire department and you see the different pieces of equipment, it can get quite complicated as far as being a licensed agency. So, I'm learning the ropes, if you will. Doug Ross I've kind of mentored under Doug Ross. So that was the path I chose to take. And Doug is a wealth of information. So I obviously work in between Doug and Ralph for the department. So I do the payroll for the department, and then I do a lot of the certifications for the equipment, the ambulance and some of the equipment. What I don't do is I don't do the medical side on the ambulance. I drive the ambulance, but I don't do the medical side. So I'm not involved in the purchasing of the physical pharmaceutical supplies. I don't do that. But generally I work in the office and try to, have the department's business move along as far as the different certifications that are required. And
Okay,
as a small, it's hard because it's hard to get our vendors out to the island to get our equipment tested, and there's a lot of chasing down vendors to try to get them out here.
yep, we understand. Go ahead, Donna.
Yeah, can I ask
Yep.
Steve a question? Thank you. So Steve, is that still budgeted at 15 hours?
It is in this current budget. What is budgeted is 16 hours bi-weekly, so it's 8 hours a week average.
Okay, so it's 8 hours a week. Okay. And what is the pay rate for that?
$17 an hour. So in the
Okay.
current budget, we have $7,072 for the assistant salary.
And so if it's $8, so it's 16 hours for 2 weeks. And so what you're saying, Steve, is usually you're working maybe 10 or 11 hours during the 2 weeks. Is that right?
Yeah, I believe so. In the summer, I may get a little busier, but that's about right.
Kind of an average. Okay, thank
Yep.
you.
I just want to add that we do have Chris Loder is signed in on the behalf of the fire department as well, if you want some additional questions answered.
Okay,
Maybe, are there other people who want to hear from Steve? We hate to keep him tied up. So we should ask him
Steve,
his questions.
Steve, did you have anything else that you would like to offer, or does anybody else have any questions for Steve directly right now? Okay. Steve, thank you very much for coming on today, and I hope you enjoy your time off.
Thanks. I just wanted to make sure I support you guys in what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a nice.
Chris Loder has his hand raised.
Yeah, go ahead and bring him in, please.
This is actually Ralph on Chris's phone.
Oh,
Okay. Hi, Ralph.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Kind of in and
Hi.
out.
Does anybody? I'm sorry. We got some coverage now. Is there anything I can help anybody with now? Sorry, I'm a little late to the meeting.
Ralph, you're getting a lot of
Does
feedback.
anybody have any?
I think that the internet's really unstable. Mark, we can't hear you very well.
I'm gonna mute Chris or Ralph.
See, how about now? Can you hear me any better now? Yeah.
I think Mark is frozen. So
Yeah.
Ralph, Mark is frozen.
All
I'm going to give you a summary of what we just talked about. Basically, we're asking Vika to get some more information, some specific information, and talk about it again on Wednesday. So that I think we're at the point where the consensus was that, we want more information, and then we will be able to ask better questions. Okay, Mark's back now.
Sorry about that. My Starlink doesn't seem to be working this morning. That's a joke.
Oh.
Chris, I guess I missed you. I'm sorry.
It's really Ralph, Mark. We
Oh, I'm
found
sorry.
out he's
sorry, that
using Chris's phone.
I'm
And
sorry, that was Ralph.
he wanted to know if we had any questions. And basically I just said, just before he got on, the consensus seemed to be, we've given Vika a lot of questions so far. We're going to send some questions and revisit it on Wednesday.
Yeah,
Is that
okay.
correct?
So given that, I'm going to suggest that we move on with this meeting and pick this department back up on Wednesday as part of our meeting on Wednesday night. And I would, without chatting by email, certainly as a group, I would suggest that maybe any questions that are sent in between now and Wednesday, allow all of us to see those questions so we don't continually repeat those questions, and we see that what questions are being asked, so it might help us to all be on the same page for Wednesday night. Does that make sense?
And so we're going to send them to Vika. Vika's got her hand up.
Yeah,
Yeah, go
can I
ahead.
just make a suggestion that if you guys have questions, try to send them, in the next day or two, so then maybe I can try to answer them by Monday afternoon or something, so then you have a little time to go over the information before the next meeting, so then, you're not getting those questions answered at the meeting, but potentially have those questions answered prior to the meeting, so.
Yeah, so the question I'm really asking everyone's opinion on is it okay if we send in a question and CC everybody as a group, as long as we're not chatting about it. Is that kosher? Is that okay?
I think as long as we're asking a question, and then I think that Vika should send out, the answers could go in the packet that she's got up there. So it's in a public packet.
Or should we just send them in individually and she shows what?
Yeah, I
everything-
think I think I would feel more comfortable about that
Yeah.
in case somebody challenges it.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, I think that, so we send in our questions to Vika and then she can put the answers in the packet.
Okay. So let's get back at this budget. We're going to go back to page 1. We're going to start with Department 1300, Administration and Board of Selectmen. What I'd like to suggest is I will introduce the department, tell you what was budgeted last year, tell you what is proposed for this year. We will give each selectman an opportunity if they'd like to speak on that department. If you have a recommendation of a line item that you want to put lower or higher, please be specific with that. If you get a consensus of 3 of us that agree with it, then that will be the draft for the next discussion. Does that make, and we'll give the public a quick opportunity with each department after we're done. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So the order of people having an opportunity to speak is going to be Jen, then Bo, then Jay, then Donna, and then myself. So we're at Department 1300, Administration and Board of Selectmen. Last year it was budgeted at $254,938. This year it is proposed to go up to $282,766. That's an increase of $27,828, 10.92%. Jen, do you have any thing on this department, please?
I do not.
Okay. Jay?
No, everything made sense to me.
Okay. Bo?
I'm sorry, Mark. My internet's so bad I didn't even hear the answer. The question. I mean,
That's okay. Do you have any recommendations or questions on Administration Board of Selectmen, Department 1300?
The only thing that I had was I had questions about the gasoline 2010.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if the vehicle is going to be driven less, or what Vika's view on that, if she's going to try to utilize that vehicle a little more. Do we need $1,300 in gas?
Do you have an opinion on that, Vika?
I actually was gonna lower this because I kind of assumed that the gas hasn't been as high as that in the previous 2 years. And so I was gonna lower it, but then I just left it as it was and figured, you guys make it. I personally don't see the need to increase it by an extra $200. I think if you leave it at about, $1,000, you'd be fine with it. But like I said, I just left it at what Justin had put in there and figured you can make that decision.
Okay. Do you have a proposal, Bo, or was that just a question?
Yeah, it was just a question. I didn't hear all of Vika's stuff because I got kicked out again. My internet's really bad.
But would you like to come up to my kitchen?
What's that?
Would you like to come join me at my house?
Yeah, I can do that.
If you want, you're welcome. You all set, Bo?
Yeah, I'll be right there in a few minutes.
Okay. The only
All right.
question I had, and this is purely philosophical from my position, is the wages full-time, wages part-time, full-time, I guess. I know that we've done a step increase in the town for wages and salaries, which I think is fine. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to back a 4% cost of living adjustment myself on top of that. So that's gonna be my.
Mark, can I add to that? So the 4% COLA increase, though, that step that Justin had done.
Yeah,
So what the employees, like, for example, the employee for, like the town clerk position, the increase that is happening, is going from, what is this year to next year?
Yeah.
That 4% and the wage increase is one thing. They're not getting a bump in salary, and then in addition to that, a 4% increase. It's the steps that Justin had done were kind of in accordance to that COLA increase. So it's kind of one thing. So it's not two different raises that they're receiving. So for the town clerk position, the current rate is at, oh wait, I have the wrong information. I mean, the current rate is, I want to say it's at 22.44, and it's going to be bumped up to $24, and that's the 4% COLA increase.
right. But on here you got a 7.62% increase in this.
Yeah, so with the full-time wages, the reason that it's so high is we have the hourly employees are getting their 4% increase, but the reason that it's being bumped up to is because what I did is I budgeted for the bookkeeper salary for a full-time position at $25 an hour at the maximum. So then if we hire somebody between the $20 and $25, if we have to pay them to $25, we have that in the budget. So based on what we hire, and that bookkeeper salary is more than what was budgeted before. But I wanted that cushion there in case if we get somebody and we have to pay them the $25, we have it in the budget. I anticipate that that budget line would potentially go down, but I just wanted to make sure that it was there if that's what we had to go with.
Okay, and will there be any, or is there any reflection of what you just discussed with the bookkeeper position in the school budget?
So, and that's the other thing, which I haven't had a chance to do, but the bookkeeper position would be covered. 40% of that salary would be covered by the school budget, and that's something that I haven't had a chance to make that reflection.
Okay, thank you.
So it should go down a little bit.
Okay, Donna and then Jay.
Okay. Just about that. So Vika, are you saying that that we're giving the 4% COLA, but if somebody's at a step, they're not going to get the step?
That step is the way that Justin figured it out is the stepping is within that the COLA increase. And so
what he told me, because I asked him about it. And so what happened is that the base rate would change to 4%, and then it would be moved up. But if somebody's at a step, they're going to go to the new step as well.
that's not the paperwork that I have. That's not how it's been reflected. That's not how he had done it. What it is the steps are reflected within within the COLA increase as well. So it's not two different things. It's just the one bump.
Okay, so he's not following the steps then.
Well, I mean, with the steps is like the town clerk position right now is at $22.44. with that step, it's gonna be bumped up to 24.40. And that's the step and the COLA increase, at the same time. It's not, they're bumping up the step, but then they're getting a 4% COLA in addition.
Okay, that's usually how it's done, though. Okay, that's fine. That's more conservative. That's okay.
Yay.
Forgive me, this is gonna be a little off topic. Have we had any interest in the job of bookkeeper?
We've had some interest. We did one interview. We had a couple other applicants, but they never followed up with my request to do interviews.
Any thought to going to Southern Maine Community College and finding an accounting graduate or somebody about to graduate as an accountant?
I'm open to anything at this point.
Just,
No, it's advertised in a variety of different places, so it's definitely heavily advertised, but it's just,
okay.
we're having a hard
All right,
time.
I didn't mean to distract the conversation.
Good. Any more questions or comments from the board? We're gonna see if Bo has another question here. Bo, did you have any more? Bo, did you have any more questions about admin and
Yes.
okay. Go. Did you have something, Donna?
No, you skipped me last time, so I didn't want to go on to the next department until I got a chance. Go with Bo.
Oh, I've already skipped you?
Yeah.
Oh.
Go to Bo.
Yep. All right. Go ahead, Bo.
All right. So can we go back to the gasoline? I'm just curious on what Vika said, since I didn't hear a word.
What I said was that I had initially, when I was looking through this, I was gonna remove that extra, $200 that Justin had initially put in because I didn't see the need for it, but I figured if it's something that came up, then you guys can make the decision whether to scratch that. I don't think we'll need it.
Can I make a recommendation that we lower it to 1,000?
I'm okay with that.
I think
Anybody
we should
else?
go lower than that because which vehicle is this anyway?
It's the blue
So-
Toyota 4Runner.
It's
I
for
know.
the 4Runner, but then it's also for the black vehicle out here too. Both of those vehicles, they end up, for the most part, having the gas go under the admin budget.
I
Oh,
thought
okay,
that
so this is two vehicles, not just one vehicle.
It's primarily the 4Runner. The black vehicle doesn't get driven a whole lot. If Gennaro takes it, takes it and drives it around for the weekend and gets gas in it, then that gas will go towards the harbor master. But a lot of the times it's in here. If we use it for town related stuff, then it'll get filled up. But majority of it is the 4Runner vehicle. Yes.
Well, what do you use this 4Runner for?
We use it, I've been using it to drive it to and from work just because of the really cold days. It had a really hard time starting. And then we use it for posting. We use it to pick up people to and from the boat. Anytime anyone in the office needs to go anywhere, they use it.
Well, I guess I'm looking at the 2021 where we used $412 worth of gas. And to date, we've only used $96 worth of gas. And I know there's a gas increase, but it seems to me that even $1,000 seems like a lot on this line.
Go ahead.
So the reason I'm proposing 1,000 is there's just too many variables in that line. So you just leave it at 1,000.
Yeah, I think $1,000 is a good number. That black vehicle I know is notoriously hard on gasoline, so I would probably leave it at $1,000 myself. Is that a consensus? Is everybody okay if we go with that? Anybody opposed to that? Okay, so let's lower that to 1,000. Did you have other?
Yeah, I got a few of them.
Go ahead.
So I do apologize. So the 3210, the postage, the average is 2129 and we're proposing it to 2400. We haven't even used, all that. Just wondering, do we need that, or can we lower that? Probably nitpicky, but I'm just curious on what your thoughts are.
That was one that I had too, Bo, because it says over the 4 years. So apparently there was a blip in the year that we're not seeing on here. But the history for the last, since 2000, 2001, and now would show that that the average for the last 3 years is probably nowhere near that 2000.
Yeah, I got the same question about 3220. The printing is the same.
I've got the same one too. You and I have the same questions.
So I'm just wondering if Vika has just
With
looking for
the
a reason.
postage, that's what we use to mail out all our VMV stuff, all of the regular stuff in the office, all of the bills. And so, I mean, if you want to lower it to, probably 2000 or right around there, I think that'd be fine. We are creeping up to that mark this year already, and the postage did go up this year significantly. So just keep that in mind, that it could potentially go up a little bit more.
Did you have a number in mind?
I was going to propose 2000. So
2000 is the proposal. Anybody in favor or opposed to that?
Thumbs up.
I'm okay with 2000. What else you got there, Chief?
printing,
Yeah.
is the same situation there. The average is well, there's no average, but from what I could see, it's around 12 to 13. So I'm just
Yeah,
curious
with
on
the
why
printing, it
25.
will vary every other year. It tends to be higher than lower because of the way I order the checks. The checks tend to add probably a $400 expense to this, but I try to order them in bulk. And so I just ordered some. So for this year, with the things that we've used for printing, a majority of it has gone towards the checks, and the rest of it will go towards the annual report. Next year, it could be a little bit lower because it might take us some time to use up those checks. But then again, it seems like we're getting more and more bills every single week there. So
What's your proposal? 15, 1600?
Yeah, I'm looking. Yeah, let's shoot for 18.
The proposal is 1800. Anybody opposed or in favor of that? I'm okay with 1800. We need a third one before.
Oh, I'm okay with 1800.
You okay? Right now, the proposal is 1800 unless Vika adamantly disagrees with that.
no, I'm fine with that.
Okay. What else you got?
Office supplies. What the $4,000? What does that go to?
Oh, that goes to anything and everything. So paper, staples, I mean, anything, binders, all of the miscellaneous odds and ends, paper clips, things like that. And then some years, we end up with a dish, like you could see with last year, we ended up having to buy a couple of new chairs. So that came out of it. So what we've tried doing with the budget in the last couple of years is towards the end of the year, when we look to see what we have in the office supplies, that's where we really start stocking up on the paper. And so then we have the paper last us through the whole entire year. Or if we need to get, a new clock for the wall, we'll get a new clock, things like that. So it's kind of anything that's within the physical office here. All of those miscellaneous expenses end up falling under the office
For the
supplies.
last 2 years.
So I just, the reason I'm asking is it's February. We only got 1630 spent.
That's because we haven't bought any paper yet. So towards, in June, what we'll do is the paper that we bought last June, we buy probably 20 boxes, and that ends up being about $400 or $500. That we wait until the end of the year to buy those expenses. And I think the
So-
reason that it was so much lower in 2020 was because of COVID, because it wasn't, we weren't using it as much, but it is a budget item that we end up running through quite frequently, just because everything in this building, for the most part, goes under the office supplies.
You have a suggested number?
I guess I'm fine with it nitpicking $400 or $500 to see if I don't. The travel 3335, $8,500.
Yeah.
What's going on with that one?
Yeah, this one looks high to me too, Vico.
So with this travel, I left it just like as it was last year, and under the travel, this is all of the costs for commuting and boat fare. So this is going to have the cost of our assessor, used to be the town administrator. I anticipate that the bookkeeper's commute is probably potentially going to have to be in it, so I didn't bother cutting it back because of that, not knowing. The code enforcement officer travel goes under this. And all of those, anybody that commutes by boat and the expense of boat tickets and boat stickers go under that.
Yeah. I'm gonna suggest a number of 7,500.
Yeah,
I think I would go lower than that because the year of 2021, Justin commuted the whole year and it only was 4,000. So
Yeah.
I guess
You know
I'd suggest 7,000.
Okay. Anybody else agree with 7,000?
yes.
Do I have a third person that agrees with 7,000? I'm okay with 7,000.
That's,
Go
Can I
ahead,
ask
Jay.
one-
no, that's fine.
Okay.
Bo, can I ask a question on this one before you go to the next one?
Yes.
Is that 2,167? Is that buying an annual ticket? Is that based?
So the 2,167, Justin had averaged that as the town administrator boat fare. So that's just his boat tickets. And so, like I said, the reason that I left that $2,000 in there is because I wanted to have the budget potentially to cover a cost of a bookkeeper if we hire a bookkeeper from town. So that's why that wasn't removed.
Well, I guess I'm thinking it's high because when he did this, when he started, they didn't have that annual fee. You can buy a ticket for the whole year. And so that we could buy something, and the commuter's $130 a month.
No, I'm all set. Thank you.
So $130 a month times 12,
1,500.
yeah. If that's boat fare, that's the most it would cost for the TA.
It would be
I
for
only
the bookkeeper.
concern-
I mean, for the bookkeeper, because he was probably basing it on before, when they were paying just the green tickets.
We're gonna have some sort of parking fee possibly too, right?
But don't we buy one anyway?
Yes.
We have flexible, we're doing that anyway. But I think
Okay.
that.
So are we good? Are we good with the 7,000?
I think it could go even lower.
I think there's just so many variables right now with that line that to leave it at 7 instead of,
I'm okay with 7.
Okay.
Anybody else? Anybody else with a comment on that one specifically? Okay. Do you have another one?
the rental of equipment, line item 4010. What's that one? Is that the printer?
That's the printer, and the reason that it's so low right now this year is because we still haven't paid for all of the costs of the printer with Justin had switched our old contract with the new one, and still, we're still receiving those payments for the new one. So it'll be bumped up a little bit higher by the end of the year.
Okay. And then the last one is the audit, the 5010. Do we think the 15 is going to be adequate? I know we talked to Justin and he assumed that it would be, but
that was one of the questions that Mark had for me. I touched base with Marjorie, and she said, do not cut that. I also connected with Long Island because I had reached out to the auditor that they use, and the auditor is going to let us know if they are able to squeeze us in or not. And they pay that auditor $14,000. And so I think that this is definitely a number that you shouldn't cut. Marjorie said that, some years it could cost up to $23,000. So I think that it's safe to say to leave that 15 in there.
In fact, I was going to, Mark, I think that we should probably increase that, because based on the fact that we've had two transitions since Marjorie left, if we go back to when we used the Barry Talbot, it figures right with what Marjorie said. A lot of the work, the auditors did a lot of the work. So I don't know if we should go up even a couple of thousand more just to make sure we don't get, it went down because Marjorie did all that work. She was doing half of the auditor's work.
Yeah.
And that's why I figured leaving it at 15, with looking at the comparison of what Long Island paid at, she said, Lisa told me that they pay $14,000 to that auditor. So that's why I felt comfortable with this number. But if you want to go up, it makes sense.
Well, I'm just thinking we're a bigger town with a bigger budget. So there's more moving parts, but I don't know.
So Bo, do you have a recommendation?
I recommend we up it to 20.
Okay, Donna?
Yeah, I'd go in between. I'd go to 18, but I'd go along with 20. I'd rather have too much in there than not enough.
Jen?
I'd go with 18.
Jay?
Yeah, I'll vote for the 18.
Yeah, I'm going with the 18 too. Thank you, Bo.
Yep.
Anything else?
That's it.
Donna, do you have anything?
Well, I think Jay comes before me. Did you have any, Jay?
No, I'm,
Okay, so
I think we have, we'll get a little bit more information. But I think basically, we've nitpicked this enough.
okay, I've just got two quick questions that Bo didn't cover because most of mine he covered. Thank you, Bo. So one question is, and I probably know the answer to this, but I'm not sure. I noticed in each one of the departments that we're paying revision a certain amount of money. Are we just taking that and doing a percentage, or why? So that's the fee that we pay, and it's just divided up over the departments. Okay, that was one question. Let's see, there was one other one that I think I had.
Where are you looking?
Oh, janitor. Pardon me?
Where are you looking specifically? What line?
Oh, you know what? It's not in this one, but it was in a bunch of them where it said revision. So it was just a general question. So
Okay,
I won't ask it.
Revision is going to go under electricity costs.
So it's
Thanks.
just, so what she did was they've divided up over the various departments. So I understand that. 3202 janitorial. Now, is it really true that we only spent 23? Well, we weren't open, I guess, in 2021. So maybe that's why that's right. And we've only spent $89 on janitorial this year.
With the janitorial, it's, it's things like cleaning supplies, toilet paper, paper towels. I'll be honest, a lot of
it's not the cleaning cost.
No. The cleaning
Okay.
cost is gonna go under the part-time salaries, which
So-
we average, we do 2 hours, 2 hours a week. We pay for, 1 hour a week, we pay for janitorial. So that's part of the part-time salaries.
Okay, so I mean, this is nitpicking, but could we go to 250 there and still have enough for supplies?
I put, when I do the bookkeeping, I honestly put a lot of the janitorial stuff like toilet paper and paper towels under office supplies.
Yeah. So we could go down to 250 and we'd be okay?
Is that your recommendation?
Yeah.
I'm fine with it. Anybody else?
Same here. Fine.
Okay.
All right, that's it for me.
Anybody else? Everybody on the board all set for now? Go ahead, Jen, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I just had a question on 3160, the miscellaneous. Vika, do you know why was 3,000, year to date, 3,400?
It's a journal entry that I need to make. We entered, we did a payment for a reimbursement to somebody, and when I do that, I put it in under miscellaneous, and then I have to do journal entry to take it out. So that number will be adjusted.
Okay, thanks.
Any questions from anybody in the public on this department only?
It's only Bev in the audience right now.
Okay, thank you. Next department, page 3, Department 1400, assessor, no change from last year. Budgeted at $13,250, same proposed for this year. Anybody got any questions or suggestions for this department, please? Go ahead.
Yeah, my only question is why aren't we updating our maps? Because it looks like we didn't spend any money in 21 and we haven't spent any in 22. And I know our maps have a lot of issues, and we did spend 1,700 in 20. And I know we're getting ready for the reval, so I don't know. Did Jackie give input on this one?
So I've talked to Jackie about this, and she will be here on Tuesday, and I've talked to Justin about this, and the suggestion is, I believe, is to set some money aside in the reserve account to cover the cost of the reevaluation. And I think that's why there hasn't been any budget change for this. But what I could do is I can talk to her specifically on Tuesday if you want to see if she feels like something should go in.
Well, I just wanted to make sure that we're updating our maps because there's so many errors in them, and that we should have some kind of a process before we start the revaluation, because what we do is we just perpetuate. And I'm not going to bother everybody right now, but I can give you a list that's been going on since 1980. The same mistakes every single year. And I'm not sure how we get those maps fixed before we go. You have the same people who have to appeal for the same problem every single time. And I know personally about it because I've been in office off and on since 1980, and the same people come to me and nothing's been fixed. So I didn't know if there was something that we should do before that. That's my only, and if you want to chat with her, I'd be happy to talk to her too.
So Vika, as far as you're concerned, the budget, the proposed flat budget on this is good for now?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. No questions from Beverly or anybody, I assume. Next page is page 5, Department 1700. This is the planning. Budgeted last year at 6,500. Proposed same amount, 6,500. Questions or comments from anyone? Go ahead, Vika.
You skipped page 4.
Oh, sorry about that. We'll go back to page 4, Department 1650, elections, Board of Registration, Board of Registrars, whatever it means. Flat budget last year, $1,000. This year, $1,000. Questions or comments from anyone, please?
We probably have more elections coming up this year because we'll have a primary and a general election. So it looks like every other year we spend more money. So do you think there's enough in there, Vika?
I mean, that's kind of it could be enough just because simply we've been using some of our town employees to fill in because we have a hard time getting election workers. But this year we might have to, work a little harder to try to get some election workers just because our employees are a little bit thinner than they've been. And so we might need a little bit more help. But I think that budget line would be fine. Because Chris and now we have Kathy would be there, and that's part of the admin budget, and then I'll help out as well.
So let's just leave it as is.
Yeah, I think Mark and Bo are frozen together. They're in the same ice cube. Mark, can you hear us? Bo, can you hear us?
Vika's probably gonna show up on your doorstep next. Keep going.
Should I text them and let them know you don't think they know they're frozen? Oh, there we go.
Oh,
They
there-
figured it out.
I'll
who
keep an
would
eye.
believe 2 years ago, we'd have all these different terminologies that we all know when somebody's frozen, what it means. It's no longer you've been sledding all winter, all night long at the Hillcrest and you're frozen.
Think how much time we've all wasted the last 2 years sitting here waiting for
Right,
somebody
exactly.
to unfreeze or for our internet to start working.
I know I hadn't thought about it from that perspective, but you're right.
Have we
Well, I
heard
think-
from Bob Ernst about the planning budget at all?
Yes. I heard from the planning board, and the suggestion was please leave it as is.
Okay.
The photographs that we were voted on to Carol White where does that come out of?
They
That
took
we're back, sorry.
They took that partly out of their budget, out of consulting and legal services, and we took some out of contingency, I
We
think.
did, yeah, we took out, I think 1,800 out of contingency, and the rest came out of their consultant services.
Because they hadn't used any of it. And they
What
didn't.
did I miss? All
Well,
right, let's rein it
we-
in.
we've
what-
raised the
what did I
budget.
miss?
We raised the budget about $2 million. I just want you to know.
Did you leave,
We left the elections as
at
is.
1,000?
Yes.
Okay.
We're
Are
on
we
the
on
bus.
to planning?
Yes.
So planning $6,500. What's the thinking there?
Keep it. I think
Keep it?
keep it.
Okay. Everybody all set with that? All right. Next page is legal services, page 6, Department 1900. Last year, we budgeted $10,000. This year, the proposal is $10,320. Thoughts on that from anyone?
We might be able to save $1,000 there. That's my thought.
Does
I
anyone
ended
have-
up increasing it by a couple of dollars because effective 2023, we received a letter, the hourly rate is going up by $25 an hour. And with me being new in this position, I might need to utilize those resources a little bit more frequently. And so I adjusted it based on the increase and me being a new town administrator.
That's probably a good idea. I'll take back my thought. And you never know who's going to sue us.
Go ahead, Jay.
You're on mute.
I think you're muted, Jay. Sorry.
Sorry, on the legal services,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
My thought was to go up to 15,000 because we are gonna have, if this broadband program actually goes through, we're gonna have fair amount of legal expenses reviewing that. And I think that we're gonna, find ourselves dealing with other issues, particularly if we go forward with anything with the golf club, if we do anything with, there are a whole bunch of projects out there that are eventually going to need legal review that could well occur within the next year. And I would suggest that 15,000 is sort of a minimum.
I think
Okay.
that some of that will be spent before the end of, before town meeting that we have in this budget. Some of those projects will be covered.
Any other selectmen have an opinion on that, Jay or Bo? I mean, Jen or Bo?
I'm fine with raising it to 15 as just in case. I'd rather have more than not enough.
I just think
Okay,
that, sorry.
I'd like to hear from Donna and then Jen.
Yeah, I guess I'd just like to reiterate a couple of the projects that, potential projects that Jay mentioned will be in this year's budget, and we've only spent 1,700. So I think we've got enough to cover 2 of those. And so, but you never know. I mean, you never know what we're gonna have to spend money on. But I do think, just to take into consideration, I'm hoping that a couple of those are gonna be resolved in the next few months.
You have a thought, Jen?
Yeah, I would leave it at what Vika suggested. I think that, I'm hoping that that's plenty, and I think we should also take advantage of any thing that MMA offers, because they have a lot of good free services. So instead of automatically just contacting the lawyer for a question, try them first, and then, because they're free.
And I have to tell you, they are very responsive. There's a guy in Yarmouth who I think might be assigned to us, because I get him fairly often when I call up and ask a question. And he's, they're very good. But there are certain things we have to have the town attorney look at, like town meeting warrants and stuff. But for regular general questions, I would back Jen on that one.
Yeah, and I'm okay with the $10,320 myself. I think we can squeeze a little out of selectmen's contingency if something happens for legal. That's my thinking. So I guess the consensus is to leave it at the proposed for now for 3 of us. Is that accurate? Is that what I'm hearing? Donna?
Yep.
Okay. Any other comments on legal before we leave that? All set? Okay, we are on to, make sure I get the right page this time. Page 7, Law Enforcement Services, Department 2100, budgeted last year at $50,248. Proposed for next year, 2023, $51,557, $1,309, or 2.61%. I'm gonna start with Jen. Do you have anything?
Just curious, is this another one of the departments or places that have an increase like everybody else? Do you know, Vika?
With this, so this is, majority of it is the contract that we get from Cumberland County. And it is a couple $1,000s higher than it was last year. So when I received the contract, I emailed with questions as to why. And the increase is largely due to the 4% increase in wages that the patrol deputies received effective January 1st. And then, there was the breakdown of how there's increase for, or not so much increase, but just the cost of insurance and variety of things like that. As far as the different outfits and boots and whatnot that go into the cost, all of those items are the same, but it's the 4% increase in COLA And then a little increase in the benefits that came part of the contract that made this a little bit higher.
Do we know if we will be getting the same person back? When's that?
We have not heard anything official. Unofficially, the hope, is yes, but officially we won't know because that's something Cumberland County is gonna have to decide.
You all set, Jan?
Yep.
Bo,
I'm just wondering if this number is the new contract number. That's all is this
So I have the contract in front of me, that the contract with Cumberland County is $33,128.07. So it is a few $1,000s more than last year. And I'm happy to forward it to you, scan it in.
Can you repeat
well,
that
I'm just
number?
wondering if this,
Go ahead.
Can you repeat that number again of what the new contract is?
33,128.07.
Well, this says 40,129.
You have to include the $7,000 rental.
Oh, okay.
The one thing about this contract too that we've been doing that is kind of a little difficult, I think, with budgeting. So with this particular contract that came in, we're going to have to make this payment for this year. And so with the contracts that we receive, well, we budgeted for the next budget year, they end up getting paid in the current budget year. So the way that they're going up, this $33,000 is going to be paid in this year's budget. So you might want to even consider raising it by a little bit more to cover, because chances are it's probably going to go up another 4% next year, and it's going to be more than what is in this particular. And that's something that, it wasn't until after that I did it that I had an aha moment that this number is going to be paid out of this year's budget. Next year's is probably going to be a little bit higher.
Bo, did you have any recommendation or was that just a general question?
it was just a general question as far as a recommendation. I'm not quite sure what to recommend, honestly.
Okay. Did you have anything else?
No.
Okay. Jay, did you have anything?
Just curious if Vika's suggesting we add another 4% to this because of the cash flow, that may not be a bad idea.
4% would be a little, so if I take 4% of the $33,000, 128, which is the contract I just received, it's a little over $1,300. So if you want to add, $1,400 to what is currently on the initial 2023, I think that would probably be a good way to cover any potential increases for next year.
Did you have
Sounds like a
anything
good
else?
idea.
Okay. Is that your recommendation, Jay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a consensus for that raising of, what was it, $1,400? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Do we have a consensus for that from two other select people?
I think it's fiscally prudent, but I wish there was some other way we could do law enforcement.
Okay. Is that, Jen, what do you think?
I would increase it to 1,400.
Okay. You all right with that, Bo?
Can we just make it 53 instead of 52,957?
It'll be easier for
whatever
me to
you
enter
want.
the numbers.
Whatever you want for a number. Vika, I guess my question is, I think Donna is alluding to maybe the level of service. I'm not sure what you're alluding to, Donna. My question to you, Vika, is how easy is Cumberland County to talk with, and is Kevin Joyce or his staff available semi-consistently for your questions and budgeting concerns or operational concerns.
When I received this email, I sent an email back and I had a response within 24 hours. So my communication with Carrie Joyce was smooth about this particular, and it was a detailed explanation why, the light items increased. Other than that, that's been, to this date, my only experience that I can share.
Okay. I'm okay with the proposed increase myself for now.
To 5,300, I mean to 53,000.
Yes. Donna, or anybody, I don't know if we finished it. Did you have any specific questions on law enforcement?
No, it's just that I get a lot of complaints about the whole operation, and it's been ongoing for a long time. And I'm not sure how to make it better. We've talked to Kevin Joyce, we've talked to everybody. And I mean, sometimes, when you really need somebody down at the wharves for traffic control, by having the vehicle in the middle of the wharf, it ends up causing more of a congestion. Just simple little things like that, like, move the vehicle out of the way and direct traffic. But
yeah,
the same at Chandler's Cove Wharf, and the fact that nobody even gets a warning when they're flying down by the town office. Nobody's even pulled over. And so it doesn't, as far those kinds of things. On the other hand, there was a serious EMS issue last summer, and he was the first person there, and I had numerous people tell me how wonderful it was. So, I don't want to be a nitpicker, but we spend a lot of money in this area, and I don't know how to fix it. And so that's my frustration.
okay. Go ahead, Jen.
Could we put it on a future agenda to talk about?
Yeah, it might not be, well, we do that every time. Yes, I'd be happy to put it on, but I would hope that somebody could come with a solution, because I feel like I'm just complaining about the same stuff over and over again with no hope for change. So I would be happy to put it on the agenda if we can all be thinking about, and do research or do something to figure out how to make it better, more responsive. I don't know.
Okay. Vika, I had a question about the wages part-time 1010. I believe that's parking enforcement position. Is that accurate?
Yes, that is.
Okay. And is that roughly an hour a day or 7 hours a week?
It is, yes.
Okay. And this is not the time to talk about this, but are we doing any better on our parking ticket collection than we used to in the past?
Yes, I think so. We get our, regular tickets on a regular basis. They get turned in almost just about weekly.
Yeah. Okay. The only reason I asked that question is whether it's offsetting any of this $8,528. That's my only. I'm fine with. So I think right now we've left this at $53,000. Is that accurate? Any more questions from anyone before we move on? Okay. Next one, obviously, we're going to skip for now. Department 2200 Fire Rescue. We are going to have a bigger discussion on this Wednesday night. So if you would go to page 10, please. Department 2400 Code Enforcement. Last year budgeted at $26,460. This year, initial proposed $28,080, an increase of $1,620 or 0.12%. Vika, could you quickly give us a reason why that's up at $1,600?
Yes, so I received an email from our current code enforcement officer with and I'll read this to you. He said that I know that it's budget time, and one thing that I would like to do is discuss my compensation. My pay has been the same since I started in 2018. I am paid very well, and I recognize that, but honestly, I have had other offers that are creeping to what I'm getting paid on the island. Also, when I come out, I put on about 70 miles round trip on my vehicle, and I pay my cell phone, my own laptop, no cost to the town for training classes or continuing education, and minimal supplies. If you had a code office, a new code enforcement officer or a code officer that didn't work for another town, you would be spending the same amount of money. What I propose is to change my pay structure to $540 a week and no changing amounts throughout the year. I have found that the winter doesn't really slow down, especially lately. It has been busier. Making this change would increase my salary by $1,530 for the year, which is pretty minimal. Most towns give employees a COLA each year. I have not received anything since I started working there, and I think I am worth more than I was when I started. And so his calculation was a little bit off, but basically what we've been doing is through certain months when through fall, spring, and winter, he gets paid. I'm sorry, summer, he gets paid $540 a week, and then during the winter months, it drops down by a little bit. And what he's proposing is just to be paid $540 a week across the entire year. And I did have a conversation with him about this to see whether he feels that his work level has increased. And he says that he averages about 10 to 15 hours a week with the amount of work that he does. In addition to that, what I've gotten him to agree on, and if you go onto our webpage, you can see on the calendar, he has given me a list of dates that he's going to be here and times, and he's also committed to coming out one day a month during the day versus the nights like he's been doing. And that schedule is available for anybody to look at on our website, so it helps people to be able to figure out when he's going to be here, because that's one of the complaints that we've heard in recent years with him being here, is that he's hard to get a hold of. They don't know when he's going to be here. So that's kind of what he's worked with me to try to figure out. So.
Okay, thank you for that, Vika. That was very helpful. Jen, do you have any questions or comments on this division, please?
Vika, does he give you a report of like what he's done, through the week or the month?
What he does is when he comes out here, the next day, he leaves us a number of notes, or sometimes he shoots me an email and he leaves all of the permits with notes on, this is how much this person needs to pay, this is what they need to do, and so forth. And so that's kind of how we've communicated about that.
I'm just curious because I know that the planning board has asked him to do some specific things, and I'm not sure that he has followed through with those. So I was just curious, like, who oversees what he does and knows, the progress of what he does.
Anything else, Jen?
Nope.
Bo?
I'm just wondering, do we have to offer a COLA? I mean,
it's something that has become more and more common as cost of living has gone up. With Cumberland County, I have a list of all of the local towns. They are all offering and have been offering COLA, and the average is 4.7% around our surrounding towns. So it's something, if you, with the Southern Maine Management all of these towns that were local, they've not only have been offering COLA, but they've also been bumping their employees to competitive rates because it is so difficult to keep employees. One of the discussions last week was specifically about code enforcement officers, how they're very difficult to keep, even more so in smaller communities. So it's, I don't know if you have to, but if you don't, you would probably be the only community in the area that doesn't offer that. It's a good way to keep the employees and, you know, to not lose them.
So I know code enforcement officers right now are, well, every once in a while they have a hard time filling that position. But if we address the COLA for the code enforcement officer, we're going to have to address it for Jackie also. I think if we offer it to one, we got to offer it to the other one also.
Just to clarify, he's not asking for a COLA increase and he's not asking for a regular increase. What he's asking for is to be paid the $540 every week versus having $540 in certain months and then have his salary be bumped down in the off-season months. So he's not asking for a 4% increase across the board.
So what I'm proposing is that this year we give him the 540 that he wants, and then tell him that next year he'll be added to our COLA, that he'll receive a COLA or whatever you're gonna call it, the pay increase.
Yeah, just go ahead, Donna.
About the COLA, we have not offered a COLA until this year because the inflation had been so low. And we were talking 1% and 2%. And so people had not been really using COLA. It's because of the fact that we are in this high inflation rate. And I would not make the statement that next year we're going to give COLAs because things could be back in a whole different place than where they are right now. So I mean, that would be you don't want to put us in a place where we're promising people something and then taking it back.
Yeah, and I would kind of agree with that. So Bo, do you have a specific suggestion of this division other than what is proposed?
No.
Any other questions?
Nope.
Okay. Jay, do you have anything?
No, I think that we need to go along with his request. Finding another code enforcement officer would be more aggravation than we need at the moment. Because they're not, as has been mentioned, they're tough to come by. I would go back on Bo's earlier thought is, do we need, Jackie's getting the same amount of money that she's been getting for a number of years now. Should we bump her up a little bit just as a sort of like good faith? We think you're doing a great job.
I'd go along with that idea. Give her the COLA for this year.
So the one thing that I want to say is Jackie is a contracted worker. She doesn't get paid through payroll. Our code enforcement officer is an employee. He does get paid through payroll. So just, keep that in mind, that it's the way they get paid and the way we consider them employees in our municipality are kind of a little different.
Well, we could still look at her salary, say her salary, I know it's 13, but math is easier if you say 10. So if it was 10 and we gave her a 4% increase in her base, in her contract, that would be doing the same thing.
She gets $1,000 a month.
Okay, so 4% of that is what, 40?
$480.
Oh, 480.
But we'd have to look at her contract again.
That can't be,
Yeah.
no, it can't be 480 if she's only getting $1,000.
For the year.
No, it's $480 of 12,000.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant you were
Sorry.
480 a month.
No.
Okay. Yeah, because I was going to say that's not how I figured it.
I think
It'll
it
be
might be two
$40.
different
Yeah.
maybe two different subjects, if I may. I don't mind revisiting the assessor contract at some point, certainly. But right now, we're on code enforcement, so the question is really, Jay, are you good with the 2023 proposal
Yeah,
of 28,000? Oh,
That's fine. I don't,
okay. Donna?
I would like to have some more information. If he's an employee, then he should be keeping a timesheet. Because if not, we've got him on so is he a salaried employee or is he an hourly employee? And if he's an hourly employee, what's his base pay?
He gets paid $540 a week, so he's essentially salaried employee that way. He gets a base, set pay every single week.
So I guess I'm asking, this is a state labor law question. Is the code enforcement, is that kosher for a code enforcement officer, or are they supposed to be paid weekly? Because by hourly, because there is a standard, and I'm not sure exactly how that works, but depending on what your job is, we had this issue with the code enforcement officer that was also the harbor master and the shellfish person, and we found that they had to be an hourly employee, that they were not I can never remember whether it's exempt or non-exempt, which one it is, but somebody
So
else.
the way that it breaks down is the code office, it's the way that it was set up this way was to just keep it kind of clean, to be able to know how to pay, because with all the little phone calls and things like that, adding, 10 minutes here, 30 minutes here was hard to keep track. And so with the budget, the way that it breaks down to is, he was averaging $45 an hour. With this, he would be averaging $46.96. But based on talking to him, he said that he averages between 10 and 15 hours a week. So that's where it would, fluctuate a little bit. Some weeks he would work a little bit more, some weeks a little bit less. But for payroll purposes, he was hired with kind of, a set weekly pay.
Well, I think that to be fair to all employees, that he should have to send in some kind of a timesheet and we can still pay him that way. But, I had a call with this person, that person. I mean, there should be some log, because and I'm not saying he's not doing his job, but one of my questions, I guess, is how often does he come to Shebig when he talks about 70 miles coming back and forth?
He's here every week.
Oh, he is here.
So that's what I was saying is he comes usually on the 4:00 boat and he leaves on the 6:30. And so when he comes, he sets up times to meet with people that need to be met. He does a lot of work, he said, through the telephone. I know he's like FaceTime with Alex when their schedules couldn't coordinate. And because one of the complaints I've heard over the recent months and really year or two is that he's sometimes hard to get a hold of, and he's here at night when people want to be here during the day. I spoke to him and asked him to make a little bit more of a set schedule for us so people can anticipate knowing when he came, which is why he's agreed to be here one day a month during the day. So it's during, regular business hours. But then in addition to that, he comes on a weekly basis.
Okay. I didn't understand that. I thought he hadn't been here for a long time. So
he's been coming very regularly. On Wednesday, actually, during the Selectmen's meeting, he was here when I was on the meeting. So he has been coming more regularly. When COVID first hit, it was a little bit scarce, but he's been here every week.
So how many hours will he be coming during the day?
When he comes during the day once a month, he's going to pull a full day. So he's anticipating to come on the 8 and leave on the 2 or the 3:45.
So will he cut out some of the night times?
He's going to try to do, and this is why, it would be hard for him to keep track of it. He's going to, that week, that will be his hours, and then he'll answer some phone calls or emails. The next week he would do more phone calls and emails because he would be here less physically present. So that's kind of how he's staggering his time.
Oh, thank you. That helps me a lot. And I want to commend you for working with him to get the daytime hours. Okay, so I'm fine with this. I didn't understand how it all worked.
So you're okay with the proposed budgeted amount of $28,080, Donna?
Yeah, I don't know
far.
how I got the idea that he was never here, so I'm feeling good about it.
Okay. Any more questions on code enforcement before we go to the next division? Okay, thank you. Next division is page 11, Department 2500, Harbor Master Shellfish. Last year budgeted at $29,275. This year proposed $30,572, $1,297 increase, 4.43%. Because what is that amount based on? COLA?
Majority of it is going to be based on the 4% COLA. And there is an additional $300 that Justin had put in under marine supplies.
Okay, thank you. Jen, do you have questions, comments, suggestions on this division?
I do not.
Bo,
Line item 3040, equipment maintenance. I don't know what that's in there for. So I'm proposing we bring it down to 1,000. Since last year he only used 978.
With this
Okay.
line, any kind of maintenance that would get done on the boat or, in relation to the harbor master, that's where this item would go in. So probably the reason why it was so low last year was because there wasn't a boat to maintain.
anybody else agree or disagree with Bo's proposal of $1,000?
I'm okay.
Jen,
I just had a question. So we were paying him for the use of his boat, which never went in the water, and he didn't have access to a boat last year.
The explanation that I received was that his boat did go in briefly in the water. It came out, but when he needed a boat, he always found access to a boat.
So where does that come? Where does that come out of the budget?
Which part?
The amount that we paid him last year for use of a boat?
It was, I believe $3,000, and I'm not sure that's something him and Justin had done. I'd have to go back to see, which line item we took that out of. But that was a one-time thing. I wasn't a part of that negotiation. I just wrote out the check. But I'm happy to dig a little bit to get more info.
Vika, my guess would be, I think it was 2,000. And if you look at under marine supplies, there's a $2,176 line item. I think that's probably that 2,000.
Jen, did you have other questions, or did you get that answer yet, in your opinion?
I'm just wondering if we're trying to get a boat fixed and a boat in the water, and he hasn't had a boat in the water, I'm just wondering how necessary this really has come down to be. It kind of morphs into like a much bigger discussion about what kind of boat we need and for this island, because I'm one of those people that thinks that the fire and rescue actually need a boat. But that's a whole nother discussion. I'm just a little uneasy about, paying somebody an amount for and not having a boat.
Okay. Vika, did you have something to
Yeah,
say?
the boat lease payment was $2,000 and it was paid out of contingency.
Yeah, that's what we thought.
That was last year's budget.
Jen, did you have anything else specific?
Not yet.
Okay. Bo?
So I'm back to the 30-40 equipment maintenance. We're gonna get hopefully a new motor. So I don't think it should take that much maintenance at that point. So I'm proposing to bring it down to 1,000.
Okay. I'm okay with bringing that down to 1,000 myself. Anybody else? Jay?
Yeah. I'm not quite sure how to approach this exactly because we don't have a boat, we don't have a line on a motor even. We know the odds of getting a new motor is somewhere between slim and none, at least for next season. So, you know, we got $1,500 to repair something we don't have.
Yeah, I can respond to that specifically in a moment. I guess my question to you right now is, do you have an opinion on Bo's proposal to lower that line item from, what is it, 1,500 to 1,000?
Well, I guess my suggestion is until we have some certainty we're actually gonna have a boat in the water, I'd take it all out.
Okay. Anybody else?
You
I
do
would-
have an outboard too, to keep in mind that this equipment would be for the outboard as well, which I know is fairly new, but
Right, but if he doesn't, I mean, if he's got a skip that goes to a boat we don't have in the water, what's the point?
Oh, Mark and Bo are frozen again.
I think it's something to do with Bo's beer.
Well, you're going in and out too. I think it's just the whole community.
I'm in Waldeboro and it seems to be working pretty well.
I was gonna say, you're pretty stable there.
Yep.
Mark, and if you guys can hear this, we can't hear you at all.
they're probably gonna get booted out in a minute and log back in.
Yeah,
Seems to be the norm this morning.
there we go.
There we go.
Gonna be mean, but
Welcome back.
sorry, we're back. What did I miss? Did you up anything?
Yeah, we're now at 5 million.
Okay, I have one comment. I'm not gonna waste much time. So excuse me. The only line that I have on possibly getting a motor, if we want to, for the harbor master boat, is through a guy in Portland that, the guy that works with me has a Mercury outboard mechanic dude that he knows in Portland. I forget his name, Herbie something. And they think that they've got a 90 horsepower two-stroke engine that's going to be rebuilt by them that could serve that boat for about 5,000, 6,000 bucks installed on the boat. That's the only possibility that I have for a motor for our harbor master boat, if we want to do that. And we don't know that we want to do that or not yet. We haven't gotten the proposal for you, and we haven't decided that as a group. So that's to answer what Jay was talking about. That's the only possibility I know of so far. Does anyone else have a specific, I have a specific question or comment. Go ahead, Donna.
Yeah, so are you going to get us a specific proposal for that motor that you're talking about, and you'll get it to Vika?
Yes, we're waiting to see if the motor checks out with the mechanic and if they're going to be able to sell it to us, install it and guarantee it for a period of time before we recommend it.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
But
This is
I have a,
Oh, yeah, I
Go
had
ahead.
another question. So, and I probably know the answer to this, but under gasoline, again, it comes up to the question of $413 of gasoline for a boat we didn't have. And so what happened to the gasoline? That's one question.
Some of this is for, like I said, with the vehicle. If he takes the black truck and uses that for harbor master
Oh,
stuff.
so
So
that
I
didn't-
do put vehicle fuel under here occasionally.
Oh, okay. All right. So that explains some of it. Thank you. And then my other question is, and again, as Jen said, we've got a bigger discussion with this area. But when we set this up, coming out of transition, this was a 50-50 job of harbor master and shellfish. Since that time, our shellfish resource has declined dramatically. When we first set up having a shellfish program, it was because we had lucrative clam flats and people were coming from other places to dig our clams. And we had people who were making a living here. And in order to have a shellfish, to be able to have limited from other places, we had to have a shellfish program and a shellfish warden. And things have changed in that area. And, you know, if I lived in Harpswell, it would not be worth it for the gas that it would take to get over here to dig the clams. So I think that this whole area needs to be discussed. And I don't know what they do on Long Island for this, but I do know that back in 2007, that their harbor master actually lived in Cumberland and got a $1,000 a year stipend. And so I don't know what they've done since then, but I think
they get two, and don't quote me on that, but I think
well, that would make sense.
I think it's only two.
I think it makes sense. It's gone up, but I think this is the same thing as when I'm going to ask with the fire department and everything else that we do some kind of a survey of, and maybe we can't get it done for this budget cycle, but to look at other towns like us, like look at Harpswell. Harpswell is a bigger place, but you know, put that in the mix, put in Long Island. What are they doing? What are they doing on Swans Island? What are they doing on North Haven, on Islesboro Islands that are our size approximately? And how are other people handling these positions? And that's just this has nothing about how it's working or how it isn't working. But I'm just thinking that we need to go back and really think about what we need as a community. And we haven't had that real serious discussion for a long time. But I think if you can get that motor for $6,000, we've got $6,500 in that position that, and it will work, that we should go forward. But in the meantime, I think it should be a goal of this board over the next year to look at some of these areas, whether it's fire and rescue, whether it's harbor master, and do those comparisons.
Oh, they left. I'll just say I agree a lot with what you said, Donna, but my belief, and I'm not trying to like get rid of Gennaro or lose a job, but there isn't anything to do really for shellfish. And you have, I know that Long Island has, I think they have a per diem position for their harbor master. And I think instead of waiting a year that, you really need to look into, why we're spending so much on a position that probably, isn't needed. I mean, how many problems have we run into for not having a boat? I mean, that's a huge part of a harbor master is to be out on the water, and he hasn't been out on the water. So I think that we should wait on this particular one, and I'd be happy to look into all the other island communities or, you know, what they're doing for a position like this these days.
Sorry, we got bumped out again, but we're back, like it or not.
Looks like they're gonna be bumped out again.
Yeah, they're frozen again. I wonder why the
Yeah.
internet's so unstable today.
The one thing that, you know, with this particular, position that could be challenging is, if you try to cut something or, you know, eliminate a big pay or something like that, I think it would be hard because, you know, this particular, position is a municipal position. And when, the individual was hired, they were hired for, you know, a certain position and at a certain amount of hours worked on a certain week, and we have those breakdowns. I think it might be something that we might have to change more with the ordinance, because we do have a very detailed description of which months he's supposed to average how many hours. So just kind of, you know, I think I don't know if we'll have the time this year to go into that detailed. So that's just something to keep in mind. And I'm happy to share that information, you know, and send that over. I recently looked into, you know, which months, how many hours, and that's something that I keep track of with the payroll. If I see that certain weeks there's a little bit more than it should be, I will mention it to him, and I will tell him that he needs to cut back on, you know, and it's usually like 3 hours, but this time of year it's, you know, 12 hours a week. And so you can't do 18 hours. You can't put in 18 hours. But like I said, I'm happy to send that over and share to kind of provide a little bit more detail.
And isn't coastal waters a big part of that ordinance, of putting that ordinance together?
That is my understanding, yes.
I'm not sure it's been reviewed since we did it. It came out of transition. It may have been reviewed, but I'm not sure we made any change. I can't remember a town meeting where we voted on changing it.
And there is also the kind of a job description, month by month basis, what the harbor master is supposed to be doing. And that's something that I recently gave to Gennaro, because he was, you know, questioning why the hours, you know, why do I have to do 12 hours this week? And so I gave him all that information, but it is very outdated and very old information. So going forward, it could be something that's definitely worth looking into. Just keep in mind, we're on a time crunch this year, and we still don't have a bookkeeper, so don't overload me too much.
Nope.
All right, so where we are right now, folks, are we going to leave this division on here as it is for now and revisit it in the very near future? Is that the consensus?
Yes.
Yep.
Can you clarify that you in fact agreed to cut the equipment maintenance line or keep it as it is?
What was the consensus with that, or do we even want to get that fine tuned today? I don't think we want to get that
Yeah,
fine tuned
let's-
today.
Yeah, let's come back to this like we're doing with the fire department at a later date,
All right.
not Wednesday. I don't think we should talk about it Wednesday. We need more information.
All right, let's get past this division. We will revisit this division at another time to be scheduled. Next page, page 12, Department 2600. Animal control, budgeted at last year, 5,250. Same amount this year, no increase. Any questions, comments on this division?
Is this a
Go ahead.
stipend? Is this a stipend job?
Yes, it's paid out quarterly, which is why this year, you know, it's only paid out half.
Right.
Go ahead.
I'm just wondering why we still have $600 in the budget for training. and it hasn't been used in, I don't know how long.
The reason that the training hasn't been done is because of COVID. But it is something that is, part of him being a code enforcement officer through the state. It is something that's required, and we've continued to budget it, but COVID has prevented from that happening.
Okay.
Anybody else? I'm okay with this. I've taken some compliments on the animal control officer operations myself. Okay to go to the next division? Next division, page 13, Public Services Department, 3,100. Last year budgeted at $221,750. This year proposed $234,891, up $13,141 or 5.93%. Do you have any opening comments, Vika?
So a lot of it, just like with the other ones, is going to be the increase in the COLA and balancing people out with the pay raises that Justin had done. The other ones, there were a few places where the numbers went down, but a few places that were increased, like with the barging reflecting the cost of the increases, or just kind of the average over the last couple of years, raise it to kind of cover what it's been.
Okay. Jen, do you have anything specific on this division, please?
I was just, the overtime, am I to assume that that's for plowing, whether, we have weekends and that's like a total crapshoot because.
It is, it really, it's kind of just an estimate. I think with last year, it's going to be a hard number to gauge because I don't think the overtime was journaled properly. I think, and that's something with this year, I've gone back and looked at, when they did overtime, it's a different line item. And I think the last 2 years, it hasn't been done properly. But it's kind of based on how many storms and what we get or what we don't get.
Because, just looking at what the actual was for last year versus what is budgeted this year, and to go up a little more.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Last year, so when I do payroll, I put, they get paid, and then overtime is a different line item. And then when you post the journal entry gets posted, and that's where the money goes. And so with this particular year and last year, the overtime just went under the full-time wages. It wasn't properly allocated to the proper item.
Got it.
So, and there's a couple payrolls. So all of the storms for this year have not been allocated into the current year budget. I've gone back and looked at those and tried moving those into the proper line item.
Okay. And then equipment maintenance. Can you explain that one a little bit?
With the equipment maintenance, the reason that it's going up, and that's something that Justin had put in, was to increase to reflect actual costs. And that's been, to maintain all of the equipment that they have. And it's something I had talked to Chuck to see if we can afford to decrease that. And he said, please don't, just because, they've received a couple of newer vehicles, but that they still have some other things that they're maintaining on a regular basis. And so they feel like they need all of the money that's in there.
But what you would hope is with getting newer vehicles over time, that line item could go down.
Yeah, and what I did actually is, one of the questions that Mark had was with the welding line, do we need the $1,200 in the welding line? And so I took that out. I kind of anticipated that because they have welding equipment and they weld, but Chuck said that on a regular basis, it's kind of, some years they might do more or less. And so rather than I decreased the welding line by $1,200, and then I just kept that $3,000 increase as it was to kind of balance that out.
Did you have any specific recommendations, Jen?
No, I just had questions.
Okay. You have more questions?
I do.
Go ahead.
The marine supplies, that's for all the wharves and things that they take in and out and maintain.
Yes, that is accurate.
And it was pretty significant last year.
I think they had some, and I'm not, I'm just speaking here from memory, but I think they had some additional expenses that they had to cover on the floats. And I'm not sure if memory serves me right or not. And I think that's where the cost increased was because of that.
And then the building and maintenance. Specifically, what is that?
Jen,
The building and maintenance is going to be any kind of maintenance for the public works buildings. I can pull up and give you some examples of which items we've specifically paid out of that particular line.
It increased. Just because of the cost of everything is increasing, is that?
That's the general consensus, is everything's gone up because the cost of everything has significantly gone up.
You don't have to give me an example. I'm good with that.
Okay.
And then we had to, we wanted to put in more street signs.
Justin had informed me about that. He said that you guys had voted to put the signs back up. And so what he did is he allocated the extra money for the cost of those street signs. If that is something you still want to go through, then that money would be there to make those purchases for the additional ones if needed.
I'm not sure, I maybe am wrong, but I thought we were just putting street signs back up that we already had, and not getting a whole bunch of brand new ones.
We're
So-
back.
Yeah, I think Jen's correct. What we asked them to do is put back the ones they had already put up. And we hadn't got into the discussion about doing the side roads. I think that is a discussion, and maybe we need to have an agenda item sometime in the next month so that if we want to include that. But I think we had authorized them right away to go and put they have some of them in the town garage. They can't do it now probably because of the ground being frozen. But I think you're right, Jen, that was putting back the ones we had. So we do need to, and Vika, between the two of us, and I wish Chris was on here because she remembers everything. If we can remember, sometime in the next month to put that as an agenda item.
I have an ongoing list of future agenda items on my computer, so I just added it on.
Perfect, thank you.
I guess my recommendation would be to not put any money in street signs for this next budget period, because I'm not for it.
Which item is that, please, Jen?
That's 4645.
So what are you recommending, 0?
0.
That would be mine too.
I think we need to have the discussion officially before we make that decision, so that the public can weigh in. And if they want them, fine. If they don't want them, fine. But I think to arbitrarily make the decision without having it be a public discussion, a notice discussion, I think that.
We're only talking numbers at the moment. We're not talking philosophical. Right?
Well, yeah, but if there's no money, then you can't do it. Oh, I see what you're saying. So you're saying if in fact, after we have a meeting about it, then if people want them, we could put it back in. Is that what you're saying?
Well, you can always take the money from somewhere else too, in the budget. But,
Yeah, I'm fine with going to zero also, so.
so for right now, that's the consensus on that line item. And Jen, I'm sorry, I think you're still up. Is that accurate?
Yeah, but I'm done now, so.
Okay, thank you. Bo,
Yep.
All right, Jen touched briefly on what I was gonna talk about, the overtime. I'm proposing we go down to 75 on that one.
yeah, my proposal was gonna be 7,000.
I'm fine with 7,000.
I haven't noticed in the first 14 years of our town, I haven't noticed we've used any more than $5,000 or $6,000 for overtime.
Yeah, a few years
2020,
back.
you were at 7,400.
Yeah, and I don't remember why that was either, but I think 7,000 is a reasonable number.
I'm with that. We would need a third person at least.
I'm okay with that.
Okay. What else, Bo?
Heating fuel, why such the increase in the heating fuel? It was budgeted 5,000 last year. Obviously, they haven't used that much up to date. And then the previous years hasn't gone past 32.
I kept it what it was last year.
2020.
That's my honest answer.
All right. Can I recommend that we bring it down to 32?
I would say with the increases in fuel, I could go along with 4, but not 32 seems like that's kind of a lot. I mean, that's not enough.
My thing is, I say bring it down to 42 and make sure that everybody knows they take waste
Oh,
oil.
I thought you said 32. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, 3,200.
32 or 42?
32. 32.
All right.
I can go along with 3,200 because the town administrator has the ability to shuffle a budget around within 10%.
And they do have the waste oil furnace.
I'm good with 32 myself. Do we have at least 3 people that feel that way?
Yeah, okay.
Thank you. What else you got?
Telephone. 2030. Line item 2030. Sorry, I should start with that first. Why such the big increase? I know there's $300 for Doug's cell phone.
This is the building telephone.
Oh,
okay.
You've got, this is going to, it's gonna be the building telephone, and it's going to be the $25 a month payment for Doug and Chuck for cell phones. So that's all 3 of those.
So why the increase? Because Doug's wasn't on there before?
Doug's been on it the last 2 years, so I don't know if that's something, if the $300 for Doug's cell phone, if that must have been an old line item that was there for a description for previous.
So I recommend we bring that down to 1,000. From 12 to 1,000.
I'll support that.
I can go along with that.
Quick question, if I might.
Go right ahead.
The 1,200 covers $300 for Doug's phone, $300 for Chuck's phone, and then the phone in the building. Is that right?
Yes,
Well, the phone in the building's got a pretty much fixed cost, right? I mean,
yes.
You know how much is that?
Well, it varies, by a couple of dollars every month, but I want to say off the top of my head, it's like $16 or $30, somewhere around there. I can look it up.
So if that's 30, so that's 360, so you got $1,000 in your actual cost. Right?
Yes.
So make it $1,000. Sorry, I didn't mean to intervene.
It's okay. What did we say before? I'm sorry, I lost.
1,000 is what you were, suggesting.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
My next one's line item 2080, the diesel. The 776182, is that for the year to date? Is that because they fill the big tank once a year?
Yeah.
Just wanted-
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so with the diesel is another thing is they fill the big tank once a year. And then on a yearly basis, what Marjorie used to do is when Chuck would bring in the monthly reports with the breakdown of how much was used by which fire department truck or the school bus or so forth. Last year's budget did not, there were no journal entries made to transfer money from the public works budget to the fire department budget. And that's something that once I picked up on that and had some Marjorie's explanation on what to do, I started doing it for the current year. So the diesel costs are going to be a little skewed about how much they are in which department because of those journal entries not having been done all of last year.
Vika, I had a question too quickly about that specifically, and it may not be a big amount. Does the school bus also fill up from that?
Yes, they do. And they do reimburse us for it.
Thank you. Go
I have
ahead,
a
Bo.
couple more.
Yeah.
5240, which is training. There's currently another $500 in there. It hasn't been used or hasn't had anything in the actual for a few years. Is there plans to go training, to do some
The
training?
reason that there hasn't been anything in there the last couple of years is because of COVID. With COVID kind of easing, I have talked to the 2 full-time crews to try to encourage them to do some training and to, go do some classes just to kind of keep current with what's going on. So.
Okay. 6120, safety equipment. Are they renewing or are they holding their stuff at a standard?
With this, what it does is like with this reflective vests and jackets, and then they try to stagger where every other year they get a pair of steel boots.
Okay.
And they haven't bought anything this year, but they actually just checked with me on the budget line to see where they stood. So because they're going to need something.
Okay. That's pretty much it. Just want to make sure they use it, that they have it. They know they have it.
You all set?
Yep. Thank you.
Jay, did you have anything more specific in this division, please?
The only thing I would add to the list is item 6010, tools. They have a need for 2 items, a generator and a power washer. I would add a couple of bucks to that so that they can cover both of those items.
Okay. Do you have
The power washer, they are looking at this budget to be able to purchase it out of this budget, but the generator, as it stands right now, I told Chuck to wait and see where he stands with the budget to see if it's something that they can afford by the end of the year. But it is something that they're hoping to have in the next budget. So.
Okay, so it's just the generator. They're going to take care of the power washer. All right, so generator, if I remember right, we're talking about $700-800 for the size they need.
Yeah, I
Is that
think it was
right,
no more
Jen?
than $1,000 that they were looking at the one that they needed.
So
Is this to run the whole building?
The generator that they have now in there is the generator that powers all of the waste oil that they run. And it's really, really old and it brings fumes into the building versus out. And it's just kind of a rigged piece of equipment. And so that's what they're looking to replace.
Okay.
So maybe add, instead of 2,000, make it 2,500 in anticipation of that.
Sounds fine to me.
So I have a question about how much are power washers, because they're almost at $2,000 right now.
I will double check, but I know he was purchasing it, so this may already be within that.
Power
I did
washers
this
are
line
like-
item, I think they may have already purchased it, but like, I don't know that for certain, 100%.
Okay.
They're $300 or $400 if you get a good one.
Yeah, I think they'll be able to cover it in this existing budget myself. That's my opinion. Jay, did you have anything else?
No,
Okay, thank you. Donna?
Yeah, I had just a couple of things. Again, are we buying an annual pass for Doug? Or is he just?
What we had done prior to this is we're doing just they just pay every single day they sign a log, so he pays on a daily basis.
Yeah, I really think that we need to look at that as those people that come over, because it's costing us money having them pay, because aren't we paying the green ticket rate when they sign
We
up on
pay
the boat?
$4.50 a trip.
Right. And it's going to be cheaper if we get an annual pass.
Yeah, I guess I thought we were buying a parking space and then getting the best ticket rate we could for anyone like that, no?
We buy the parking space, and then what they do is they get charged per trip. So it's the resident rate, it's $4.50. So anytime he rides the boat, he puts his name and, in the little
Right.
box, and then they charge us at the end of the month.
So I'm
Right.
suggesting that we change that process, because it seems as if we should be taking advantage of that if they will allow somebody who's coming from the mainland to do that. They may not allow. It may be one of those things where you have to go from Shebig to get that pass.
He does get for the parking that we pay for Doug to come over here, it's the daily parking on there. So it's not the resident. He's not allowed to park overnight. So I can double check with CDC, but I
Well,
don't
I thought
know.
you said that we had parking spaces that we buy.
We do
What do
have
you-
parking spaces that we buy, but the type of a parking space, it is for a daily. So you pay for him to be a daily commuter to Shebig to work. But
What
it's
is-
not a parking space that requires him to. be
What
able
is
to
your
spend the night.
what is your recommendation for a budget number, Donna?
Well, I'm trying to understand it, because if daily parking is $20 over there, we're paying $20 a day, $100 a week for him to park there?
No, she
No,
said.
we
we're buying a
pay
pass.
we buy a pass, but
Right.
because he is a person that comes from town to work, the pass is a pass that is a daily commuter pass. So we pay for the year, but the type of a pass is not the same pass that you get where you can leave your car there indefinitely. His is, he comes to Shebig, he works, and then he leaves.
Well, I understand that, but I'm asking about the boat fare part of it.
The boat gets paid every day per trip.
Right, and what I'm saying is, can you investigate, because I don't know whether he will qualify, but if he does, if they would let him do that. So I don't have a
Yeah,
number
I can.
until I get an answer to that question. I guess that's my question.
Yeah, you
didn't we have this problem with Justin last year on the pass? They wouldn't sell him one?
I don't know, I can't remember. So that's why, just if we can get a clarification is all I'm asking.
Your question is, what is the weekly boat fare rate that we're getting charged for full-time?
Right, and
Yeah.
is there any way to get a better one? That's my
Yeah.
other.
So you don't have a specific budget line?
Not
item, right?
until I get the answer to the question.
Okay. Do you have any questions
Yes.
or specifics on this?
Yeah, I do. On 4010, rental of equipment, when you add this up, it comes to $8,700. And most of that, I guess all of it is the mower and sweeper. And last year, we looked into buying a machine that would do that and then using this money that's already budgeted to pay it off. And then we took it out because of something else. And I just would like to say, to put it on the table that we consider again doing something with the capital budget and move this to the capital budget and try to solve this problem, because then we would have the machine here on the island. They'd be able to 2 or 3 times a year cut the sides of the road. And because really this is just throwing money, good money after bad. And if we would end up owning something, I can't remember what the cost was, but there was some discrepancy between what thought they needed and what some people in the community thought. But I really think this is an area that we should really look at.
Yeah, I would agree. Are you suggesting we leave this in here for now and have a bigger discussion in capital?
Yes.
So very quickly, the discussion in capital so far is we have $25,000 existing in that public works equipment line item. We've proposed 35,000 so far, which we will get back to on the 26th. If that passes, you would have 50,000, which probably would not get you to that goal that you're talking about for next year without some other form of funding.
Right, but would this 87 be on top of that 50, so we would have 58.7?
Theoretically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but so anyway, I think we're getting closer, and I think it's something
Yeah.
we need to consider.
Okay. Did you have any other specifics or questions, Donna?
I think Bo and I like kindred spirits because he asked all the same questions that I already had.
I think you guys had a plan before the meeting.
I know we've been really working hard, haven't we, Bo? Behind the scenes.
I just have one item, item 1010 wages part-time. I don't see the reason to go up to $55,304 when we've been averaging $2,000 a year. I'm proposing to keep that at $4,000 or $4,500.
I'm good with 4,000.
Yeah, I'm good with 4,000 too. Anybody else?
Yeah, 4,000 is fine with me.
Jen, do you have a comment on that?
Who does
Go
that
ahead.
actually, what does that actually cover? I guess,
That majority of that is going to be, or actually all of that is going to be Billy Calthorpe during snowstorms. He's their third guy that works with them.
right.
You guys okay with that? Sounds like you are. Any other questions or comments on public services before we move on? Okay, thank you. Next page is page 15, Solid Waste Department, 3,200. Last year was budgeted at $195,980. This year proposed at $232,887, $36,900 increase at 18.83%. You can see that we have to do the 5120 landfill monitoring charge this year, which we did not have to do last year. And you can also see that the chipping of the brush is an ongoing expense problem for this budget. And barging is also 50/20 is up because of the volume that's coming out of that department and barging rates. Did you have anything else to add, Vika, before we get into this?
The last capital discussion that you guys had last time, you had talked about potentially because of the painting would be a one-time cost instead of putting that into the capital, you would put it in the regular budget. So I just put that $20,000 in here. So you could see, you know, what that number would look like in this budget item.
Okay, thank you. Jen, go ahead if you have anything.
Yeah, that was, you answered my question.
Right.
The other thing was, didn't we, and I can't remember what the acronym for them, weren't we hiring somebody to look at the public waste and how things were set up? And what do we know about that?
JPEG.
Thank you.
So JP Cog was hired to do a transfer station study. And that's something that in the last couple of weeks, I have gotten in contact with them. And they are proceeding with that. And then once I have any kind of information, I will share that.
Thank you.
Anything else, Jen?
No.
Well, the line item 3350 uniforms and clothing, $250. Sometimes it hasn't been used, but the reason I'm looking at this line item is she wearing proper PPE? Steel toe boots?
This,
Or they recommend steel toe boots. I think this needs to be looked at before we, you know, get caught.
I don't know
with-
what the recommendation are. I know that she's actually in the process right now. She gets the vests that she wears and a jacket every couple of years. And so that's something that the jacket that she's had is pretty worn out because she's had it for quite a few years. And the vests they usually get every couple of years. So that's an expense that, you know, that they're hoping to cover in this year's budget. But I don't know anything about what the requirements of any steel toe boots, but I can find out.
Yeah, because it, you know, and also the line item 5251, you got $2,000 in there. Last year was 3150. I just noticed it was because the waste tank was pumped. Is it possible to look into see if we can put it in a septic system for that thing? Because I know a lot of it's sand and stuff, and that might be putting a little bit of stone in front of the pad to see if we can alleviate some of that sand from going into there, or some kind of drainage so that the exterior water doesn't go into. I don't know. It's different rules because it's a transfer station. So you might have to have it, even the wastewater or the perimeter water that goes around it might have to be collected also because it might have pollutants in it. I don't know. So, but I know that tank gets pumped out and it's got sand in it all the time. So I think this needs to have a future look is all I'm saying.
You're leaving the number for now?
I'm leaving the number because it doesn't need to get pumped, but it might be something to get looked at. Either hire an outside consultant to give us an idea on what are possible solutions for it. So some stuff fine.
Anything else?
That's it.
Jay, do you have anything?
No, other than to say I was very happy to see that the 20 grand was included for getting the place painted and cleaned up. You know, with the money we have set aside already, I think that covers the whole cost. So it'll be good to get that out of the way and done. It's something that's been on the books to do for too long. Otherwise, it's clear that, you know, our increased costs are, you know, related to the painting, the DEP test, which is an every other year issue. And then we've got barging costs are increasing and, you know, it's all pretty self-explanatory.
Okay, thank you, Jay. Donna?
Yeah, I had a couple of questions. Does this show an increase in the hours for the part-time attendant?
The solid waste wages line item 1010 are part-time, both of the attendance. So it's Gail's salary and Annie's salary in it.
Right, but what I was wondering is, because 40,000, going from 36 to 40 is almost 10%, and the COLA is only 4%. So I just wondered if we were adding more hours to Ann.
So Anne is, let me look at 1850. Hers, she is not one of the employees that's anticipated to have a COLA increase.
Well, yeah, so that makes it even more, I don't understand how it went up, like almost $4,000, and 10%, if we're only talking a 4% increase for Gail.
Good question.
And so I just was wondering if we'd added more hours, which I was going to be happy about. I mean, I think that Ann does a great job and Gail needs help. But
We have, what we have is, we have averaging of 7 hours a week for Annie's position, at $18 an hour. So that salary would be $6,552. And then we have, and with Gail's, based on when it's open or closed, her average is 61 hours on a bi-weekly basis. So you're looking at about 30 hours a week. She's going to be bumped up to 21.22.
But again, do you see what I'm saying? If the hours are the same and the
Well, and that's, let me look. I could have misspoken. Let me double check real quick what he had for hours last year for Annie.
It's a good question, Donna.
61. All right, so I was Ron, Annie. So Annie did also get a bump up in her salary to $18 an hour. So last year's, the combination of these is based on both of them being bumped up to salary or bumped up in their what they make.
So she is getting a COLA or she isn't getting a COLA?
She's not getting a COLA per se. What she's getting is she's being bumped up to $18. So he has her, she had started out at 15 originally, then moved to 1632, and now he's bumping her up to 18. That's the calculation that Justin had figured out.
So, if you have a chance, and I don't want you to have to really do this, but I still can't get how we've gone up 10%. I don't want to belabor this now, but if you have a chance to kind of look at it.
Yep, and what I could do is I can share the budget, wages, and benefit proposal breakdown that outlines all that.
And to see it detailed for whatever we had for the budget for 2022 compared, that would be wonderful.
Yep,
Thank you.
Yep, I'll be happy to send that.
And the other question is, do we get uniform for Ann?
I don't believe so.
Because my feeling is we have so many renters that come up there that they should definitely both have some kind of identification that they work for the town. And, and they have the vest, but maybe we get a vest that says Town of Shebig or, whatever, so that people know who the people are that they're supposed to go to. Because we have some people who are just up there and hang around all the time. And I've had people ask me where to put stuff. And I don't have a
place to visit.
But I think that if we have it so that people can clearly tell who the work, who's in charge up there, it would probably be helpful. The next question I had was about hauling. And I did the math on this, and maybe something hasn't been posted, but to date, we've spent 51,000, and that's 2/3 of the year. And so if you do the math, we're over budgeting by $5,000. Because the bulk of July and August are the busiest parts of the year. So when I did it, I figured out that 2/3 is 56,000 and we've only spent 51,000.
Okay, so what is your suggestion? that
I'm
we're budgeting
suggesting that
$200?
if my math is right, that we go down by, maybe 2,000, because, it is a variable number, but unless there's something that increased that we don't know about.
We didn't do the regular, the yearly cleanup.
Bulky
So-
waste.
Yeah, thank you very much, because apparently my brain stopped working. Yeah, so we didn't do the bulky waste, so there's some hauling there that we didn't accommodate for.
Well, and so that would still leave 3,000 for that. So I don't know how much that costs. But maybe 2,000, taking it down by 2,000 isn't the right number, but I just think it's an area that we should look at. And maybe something hasn't been posted too. Maybe there's a bill out there that hasn't come in.
Do you
So-
have a recommend, do you have?
I have a
number?
recommendation. If my math is right, and if there isn't an outstanding bill, I think we could go down by 2,000 on that line.
We just, we paid bills this week and we had another $2,600 bill to Triano that we sent out, and
Okay.
that bill, it was not on this because I printed this out and sent it to you before those bills were paid.
Okay, then I'll cancel my thought.
I mean, we had this past week between the school board and the selectmen's warrant, we paid out $180,000 in bills. And so
Yeah.
those accounts, aren't posted with what is on this particular year-to-date number. So
Okay, so when we get our new one, it will be more accurate for the year
yes,
to.
yep,
Okay,
yep.
thank you. Okay, so leave that the way it is. My next question is about hazardous waste. And I thought it was supposed to be done every other year. And if there's 4,190 in it for year to date, so we must have done it this year. So we wouldn't be doing it next year, would we?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I missed that.
And because you look at, for some reason, we had a little over 1,000 in 2021. But
Yeah.
and maybe we cut that 6,500 down to 2,000 or something in case we have something that we have to take care of. But it just doesn't seem like, we would be having them come back again.
It does seem like if we did it last year, we wouldn't have to be required this year, Vika.
I'll confirm on that.
Okay,
Go ahead,
thank
Jay.
Just one thought on the hazardous waste. When we met with Chuck and Doug, they pointed out that there has been a lot more paint to be gotten rid of because people have been doing, with COVID, a lot more home projects. And the bottom line is they've had a lot more hazardous waste to deal with. I don't know what that means in exact numbers, just that they've had an increase in what they've had to deal with.
Okay.
I can't remember what does the ordinance say as far as how many times?
It says every other year, and it says, I read the ordinance just because we've got this little subcommittee on it. And that that the ordinance says that we will have bulky waste every year unless there's no need for it. So that's going to be a recommendation of changing wording in that. I would think that once we get into that with the committee, but as of right now, we're legally bound to, as long as there's a need. So that's something that I think the committee that Vika's got going right now will come back with a recommendation before the end of the budget season so that we can, tweak some of this. Am I right, Vika?
Yeah, that's the goal.
So I would like to see that it stays at 6,500, considering we didn't do bulky waste last year. And I'm a selectman, and I didn't even know they were collecting hazardous waste last year.
Well, this isn't bulky. I know, I didn't know it either. But this isn't, but this line item isn't bulky waste. It's hazardous waste.
I know, but they do collect a lot of hazardous waste on that weekend because they know that there's somebody there and they do collect it. And I know
Right.
that for a fact. Because I've done it multiple times on bulky waste day. So,
Okay, so what are we doing? Are we leaving it in there for today? And
Yeah, let's leave it for today and then come back with more specifics.
And you're gonna give us a little bit more of a report on that, Vika?
Yes, I'll look into, the information about bi-weekly hazardous waste and what entails in that.
Thank you. Donna?
I had one question about sanitation. Year to date, we've spent $3,150, and we're only asking for next year for 2,000. So what is there been an exceptional, something exceptional that's happened up there?
That is a budget item that I, have on my list to look into because,
Okay.
I'm thinking that we may have, put it under a Ron budget item out of one of the payments that we had done because it seems like it's a little bit higher than it should be. I know that they did come out in extra time that they hadn't before, but the numbers don't align to, what they usually are. So I have it on the list to look into to see exactly why.
Okay, that sounds great. I'm done.
Thank you, Donna. I don't have anything specific. I'm kind of with Jen. I think the whole operation needs to be looked at. I think the facility runs amazingly well for how overwhelmed it can be at times, but I think it is overwhelmed at times. So I think moving forward as a community and a town, we need to see if we need to do something different with the operations. Are the fees accurate and adequate? Does the facility need to be expanded? Blah, blah, blah. We started this town in 2007, budgeted at about $165,000 a year. So if you do the math, I don't know if this means anything, but it's gone up $5,000 a year for 14 years. That's just the reality of it. So I'm hoping we can look at this facility with a holistic picture at some point. Anything else from anybody before we move on?
No, I just came up with a brainstorm. So what we could do is assign people to go to the transfer station by hours, by your last name alphabet, see? So that way everybody doesn't go at the same time. That was like a joke, okay? That was a joke.
Yeah, okay. We'll move on if it's okay to the next page, page 16. This is Department 4400 miscellaneous mainland. This is the amount that we pay into an escrow fund held by the town of Yarmouth for Cousin Down Wharf per agreement. Last year was budgeted at $22,094. 2023 initial for this coming year, $22,978. Any comments or questions from any of the selectmen? Jen?
No.
Bo?
just wondering if that's a correct projection.
We
It
have
is, we have an
schedule.
agreement that we have to follow, so I look in the book and take that number from the year and put it in.
Yeah, that was one of those things that right in the very beginning, they figured out a percentage. And so we all agreed to, this is what it will be for the next however many years. But I do know, this is just information, that that the town of Yarmouth is looking at an assessment of that wharf, because they contacted me because they don't have any plans for how it was done before, and Cumberland didn't have any, so they wanted to know and they didn't have any in the town office. And I fortunately found a whole series, if anybody's interested, I can share them, of photographs. There were slides, and Chris Stouty fixed them for me. So images of the rebuilding of that wharf. And so I sent them on to Bonnie Baker, who they've hired to assess the wharf. And it's very clear how they did it. And so anyway, if anybody's interested in those, We have them at the museum, and I'm happy to forward them to Vika and the board if you want them.
Jay, any comments on this proposed
No.
budget number? Donna,
Nope.
I'm good with it too. Next page is. Where we at?
Contributions.
Next page is 17. We're going to be dealing with contributions on February 26th, 9 a.m., right before our second capital budget discussions. Okay. On to page 18, Department 5810, General Assistance. Last year, $500. This year, $500 proposed. Any questions or comments on that? All set? Page 19, Department 5910, Health Services. Last year budgeted at $2,000. This year budgeted at the same, $2,000. Any comments or questions on this one?
Do we still have Anita Anderson who does that job?
Yes, we do.
And what actually does she do?
She, the extent of communication that I have with her is she forwards us any updates or anything, you know, from the state or from the governor's office about what the CDC guidelines are. I think there's a little bit more into it, but I really don't know the full details of what she, you know, what she does for us. I can get more information from Marjorie.
I think that one thing she has to do is inspect public swimming pools. I don't know if she does water testing, if that's part of her job, or we hire that independently.
That gets hired out. She does not do them.
Does she do anything with the school for school nurse? Is that
I
part of
don't
it?
believe so, but that's something that I could double check, but I don't think so.
So basically what her role is to be our Department of Health.
I think she's just kind of the health representative for the town, and she gets a $500 stipend quarterly to do that.
I've never seen her in my life. So, but I'm not saying that, I think it's one of those positions you have to have, like the dog catcher or something, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
I've
not
seen
saying
her,
she's doing a good job. I'm just saying, you know.
I've seen her over here and I've met her a couple times. Are we good with this for now?
Yep.
Okay. On to page 20, which is Department 6200 Cemetery. Last year budgeted at $14,050. This year budgeted at the same amount, $14,050. Questions or comments? Jen, do you have any?
No.
Bo?
Nope.
Jay?
No,
Donna?
No, except that I think we were so lucky to get Ann Thaxter to do this because we were really up against it. And she's done a wonderful job up there. She really cares. And I think if any of you see her, just reinforce that because you know, that goes a long way, I think, for somebody who's doing that kind of work.
I would have to echo that. I know that we are interested in purchasing a lot because after these Zoom meetings, I could drop at any moment. So I'm hoping that the cemetery committee is working on that, so new lots are available for purchase or purchase of lots in existing areas or something. So, but I'm okay with the budgeted amount. Any more comments or questions on this division? Okay, thank you. We will go to page 21, Department 6900, which is debt service. I see, because we have a decrease on the first line item of interest. And then we obviously have the new plow truck, which is an addition, which is the 6516 and 6517, which is interest and principal. Last year budgeted at $290,067.19. This year budgeted at $353,322. Jen, do you have anything on this division?
I just assume all these numbers are set and put in there and they're up to date.
Yeah, I went through and I, collected all of the, Justin had input them in, but just so I had a better understanding and knew where each number was and what it needed to do, I went through and, double checked in all of it. So yeah, they're just kind of based on our debts and what we have to pay.
Thank you. Bo,
No questions.
Jay,
No questions.
Donna.
Yeah.
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. On 6510, the paying off of the Cumberland debt, I think that when we have the capital discussion, we should start putting money in there for a big fireworks display. Because to me, that's the most important anniversary. It doesn't matter if it's 20 years, 25 years or whatever of being a town, but paying that debt off deserves a celebration. And I think we should, if we put $1,000 in every year, or a couple of thousand, that we will be able to have a decent celebration as a community, because that's if we're still in business, we'll do it. If we're not still in business, then we don't have to spend the money.
Okay,
But I'll bring that up on the capital.
okay. But specifically with this budget, you're okay with how
Yeah.
it's structured?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't have any choices.
I don't have nothing else from anyone, I assume. Thank you. Next page 22 is Department 7500. This is benefits and insurance. I see that you have last year was budgeted at 92,400. Where am I at? Sorry.
No, that's year to date.
Sorry, last year budgeted $196,912. This year, $208,000, $208,001, an increase of 5.63% or $11,089. Jen, any questions, comments?
When do you usually get health insurance numbers? Not until later, right?
No, the health insurance numbers for municipal employees go into effect in January. And so with this particular number, you could see the adjustment. It's a little bit higher this year because effective this past January, the health insurance increased by 6%. Last year, it didn't have an increase from the year before. And so that number is based on, the increase.
Okay. And the pay raises, that's just because of the pay raises that we have kind of across the board. You're putting that kind of as a placeholder for those increases in FICA and Medicare and all that?
No, this pay raises, this is something that you guys had voted with Justin. And these are the bonuses payouts that get paid out to full-time employees. This year he paid them out in December based on evaluations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Bo,
I have no questions.
Jay,
No, I assume that when we have the fire department conversation, that'll possibly change these numbers a little bit.
Yeah, the biggest increase you're going to see here is in FICA and Medicare, and that's going to be in reflection to the drastic increase of the budget for the fire department. So it will adjust based around that.
Donna,
I guess I don't understand on 1210. it says there's a 6% increase in health insurance, but that line has only gone up to 0.73%.
For the health insurance, so with our health insurance, like for this particular budget, you look at the increase is going to be halfway through the year. And so the increase is for a partial year, if that makes sense.
Well, I would think it would be for the full of next year, right?
It is.
No, just 6 months. Health insurance goes into effect January 1st, right?
Yes,
The
yes.
increase.
So this particular
Okay, so-
increase is, yeah.
Right,
Okay.
so
Shouldn't we plan on,
we pay so this budget has to have 6 months of the next year's increase.
right, and I guess that's what I'm saying is I don't understand why it only comes out to 2.73. I would think that we would have to have more than that.
I can show you the formula that I used and what I did to figure it out, if that helps.
Okay, yeah, right, it just doesn't, it's, to me, it's counterintuitive. Because even though it only so is that 6% for now and the end of the year, but we still have to budget for the
No,
rest
the
of.
6%, what I was referring to, the 6% is that last year, the health insurance did increase from the previous year. So it was the 6% increase from last year to this year. So it's a six month time frame where that increase was seen within a specific year budget, which is why the number is what it is. But I think it'll probably make sense when I show it to you.
Yeah, because I don't understand why you wouldn't have a whole year in there, even though it's at two different rates.
I had to learn how to do all these things. My brain was burning after I got all these numbers in.
I can imagine. Thank you.
You all set, Donna?
Yeah, she's gonna get back to me.
Okay, so as you know, when you give people pay raises, obviously your FICA and your withholding costs go up. And my question to you, Vika, is, isn't workman's comp based on a formula of possibly having to prepare to pay out up to 75% of someone's income if they are injured and out on workman's comp? So why would that not go up?
Let me look at it real quick. With the workers' comp, the number that, I just lost my page.
Or is it based on safety record as well?
Yeah, and that's information that it goes through our insurance. And so they kind of help generate those numbers for us.
Okay. So are we good with this proposed budgeted amount for today, folks, or where are we at?
This has been a great start. Mark, you've done a great job moving this forward. And we have a bunch of questions Vika's going to research, and I think we can pick away at them one by one. And the next one is we'll have more information about the fire department, and we may not come to a final decision on that on Wednesday either. And we're lucky we've got, we have some time and to do this right. So thank you, Vika, for all the effort you've put into this, because it's very evident.
We do have 3 or 4 real quick ones if you're still up for it. You ready?
Yeah.
I was hoping we could go. Okay.
Well, let's just touch on them quickly. Page 27 is streetlights. Last year budgeted 8,400. This year 8,700. Thoughts on that, please?
I will be honest, I did not touch anything else in this budget other than these departments, because that's what I focused on for this meeting. So
okay,
these numbers were pre-put by Justin, so I have very little explanation if you ask me.
So can we leave this alone for today, or is anybody adamant to talk about it? Go ahead, Jay. Or
Just given that CMP's rates are going up fairly significantly, maybe we ought to think about, well, is it increasing this, or is that offset by the revision by our solar panels?
Well, remember we got those special lights too. I think Vika maybe should call CMP and
Yeah,
get their
the
input.
street lights are not covered under the solar panels. So street lights we pay out. The one thing that we did do this year is we got new LED light bulbs, which did
Right.
have an impact on by like a couple $100 a month. So I think that even with the increases, I would think that this would offset it because of the new bulbs that we have.
Okay, good. That's a good answer. Thank you.
are we good with this one for today, at least?
You want me to
Okay.
give my spiel about how we have too many streetlights? Probably not today.
You can.
No, not today.
Okay. Page 28 is our selectmen's contingency. Last year, we budgeted to have available to us $16,000, same proposed for this year. What's your thinking on that?
I think it's a
fine.
good number. We should keep it in there.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Yep.
Anybody else? Okay. Page 29 is the tax paid to Cumberland. Basically, we bring in tax dollars from Hope Island and the outer islands, and we have to pay 50% to Cumberland for another 35 years.
Is there a projected number for that yet, or?
It's according to valuation and tax rate.
Yeah, it depends. And let's hope that when we're revalued, that they're valued at a lot more. We know they paid 7 million for it, so it seems like
Yeah.
it should be worth 7 million.
Any comment on that before we go to page 30? Page 30 is your county tax. You probably have not had an opportunity yet, Vika, to look into this, but last year we budgeted 162,283. You've got the same number in there so far right now.
The reason that it's the same number is because they tell us what we need to pay and we have not received that number. And so it's just there kind of as a placeholder for the time being.
And is that based on population or is that based on?
I honestly, I don't remember. I talked to Marjorie about it and she gave me an explanation, but I don't want to speak for it because I don't remember exactly what she said to me.
I was
Okay.
thinking it was valuation, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, it has a lot to do with that, but like I said, I don't remember the exact words, and so I don't want to misspeak.
Anything else from anybody on county tax? Well, thank you all for today. Wednesday night, we are going to see a workshop session along with our business section. I believe that Don and Vika will put that in for the fire department. Hopefully we can get some answers and some more solidification for that department. Our next budget meeting is Saturday, the 26th. We are going to start 9 a.m. sharp. Contributions, which will be library, rec center, council, so on and so forth. I would ask Vika that you make sure that the individual nonprofits are supplying us with their financial reports before that meeting.
Yeah, we
And
already
anyone-
have the email out to them to provide that information. So once we have it, I'll put
Yeah.
it in a document and send it to all of you.
And anyone that is going to represent each nonprofit or entity is available at the meeting and ready to speak for their cause. And then right after that session, we're going to dive right back into capital again. So maybe you can give us your edited capital improvements from last time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mark,
Yeah.
I just for clarification, I don't think that we're going to call it a workshop because we've already done the agenda. So we have an update of the 2023 budget. And
Yeah.
I think the fire department would come under that discussion.
Yeah, I don't care what you call it.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure it's well advertised, and I want to
Yes.
make sure that we're prepared for it. And if you run it, fine. If you want me to run the discussion, I'll run it as well. It's up to you.
Yeah, no, that's good. You can do that. It's just, that's how we wrote it.
Jen, go right ahead.
I would just suggest that maybe Vika contact, besides Ralph, the other lieutenants and more people from the department, because I think that they should have a say in everything as well.
Yeah, and I just want to say one thing, and I'm sure Doug Ross may not appreciate this, but Doug Ross has been a volunteer fireman for 50 years. So if Jay Corson starts his retirement thing, we may have some catch up to do for Doug. That's kind of a joke.
No, but seriously, I mean, that's
50 years is a long time.
That's why people should be, I think that's a great way to reward people.
Yeah, Lindy would be another example of that.
He's
Those
more
are
than
the two
50.
people that,
Yeah.
yeah, those are the two people that I know of, and there may be others. But anyway, thank you all.
I just said, sorry,
All right.
just thinking about meetings in person, considering that I'm not
Yeah.
at my house right now because my internet is lousy and we got kicked off several times. And I don't know what the reasoning is, but I'm just curious on.
Why don't we have a discussion about that on Wednesday night under future agenda items? That would be a good time to talk about it. And, we'll see how the caseloads are going, and hopefully we're going in the right direction, but they're still high, even though we're dropping.
Yeah.
So,
We Girl, because the internet up here is awesome.
Go ahead. Go
Can
ahead.
I just, can I just clarify that you guys are going to send me any questions about the fire department sooner than later, so I have some time to get that information and answers back to you, so you can look over that before the Wednesday's discussion.
Right. So Vika, I think we decided it's more prudent and legal for us to send you those questions individually without including others on an email to not break the law. And if we do that, how are we going to know what questions each of us have asked?
So I think to start out, what I'm going to focus on right now is I'm going to gather up what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an outline of the cost of the stipends that they receive, all of the fire department and EMS, what the fire chief pay is and what he wants, the budget for the assistant, what we paid him last year and what we're predicting. So kind of take the salaries and really break them down into a more thorough who's getting what now, where they want to be and where that money is going to be going. So you could see a little bit more of a breakdown of that. That's what I'm going to focus on. If you have any additional questions that you want answered in addition to that, then I think that maybe that's what you could shoot or aim to try to email me.
Okay. And we won't be comparing ourselves to more wealthy towns as far as what they're doing, correct? We'll sort of choose towns that are comparable to us, if you will.
What Ralph's argument with this has been is that this is, what he's presented is comparable to other towns, but there hasn't been, I haven't done any research. I haven't had time to see what other towns are getting for fire departments. So I'm kind of just going off of what he's told me at this point.
I guess my advice would be look at Long Island, Oars Island, Swans Island, Islesboro, and North Haven. That's 5 different islands in various parts of the coast. And just out of, I have no idea what the answer is to any of those. I've never talked to any of them about fire, but that would be at least a starting point.
So Donna, can you email that to me as a question?
I will.
With the list?
I will. With those on
Okay.
it, sure. I'd be happy to.
Hi, Mark.
Did that mean he adjourned?
I think so.
Yeah, let's adjourn. What do you say?
Done. Goodbye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Have fun in Waldeboro
Thank you.
and say hi.